I'd like to announce that a quorum is present. The meeting is duly called, and notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. In order to maintain social distancing and other health protocols at public gatherings, a limited number of staff and community members will be in-person attendees at this evening's regular board meeting. The following board members are in attendance: Tracy Miller, Allison Lasan, Catherine Sells, Dr. Buddy Bonner, Angie Cox, Christy Hassett, Jenny Prosnick. We will now convene into closed session as authorized by Texas Government Code Section 551, specifically 551.071, 072, and 074. The time is 6:01 p.m. We'll reconvene now into open session at 7:03 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge.
Honor the Texas flag.
Welcome all. The Lewisville ISD Board of Trustees meets monthly to receive reports from staff and take action on recommendations from the superintendent. The board receives the agenda and all supporting documentation 10 days in advance of these regular meetings, which allows us to ask and receive answers to many of our questions. In addition, the board also meets regularly scheduled workshops and work sessions where staff discussions and presentations are given for many of the agenda items. This protocol means lengthy discussion or a litany of questions on every agenda item often is not necessary. And as a board, we should have appropriate knowledge and preparation for responses regarding the content of our meeting tonight. Dr. Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Can we get the... I don't think that's the first one. Thought it was one PowerPoint. There we go. Okay, we're going to move through this real quick. Maybe. So, of course, a couple of weeks ago, I had the great privilege of watching 5 graduating classes. I know the board, that's for us, that's really the epitome of what this is all about, and a great opportunity. And then we also were holding those the previous last 3 days of school, we held middle school CTE camps, and just great work by our CTE teachers and middle schoolers. Had a great time, and so we appreciate the support of the board on that. So this is going to be the shortest monthly COVID update, and hopefully the last. As everyone, the board's aware, beginning June 7th, we made mask optional at all LISD facilities. Many of the level orange restrictions in place this year were removed. Those that weren't, of course, social distancing, some other things that we hopefully look forward to getting rid of sooner than later. Very optimistic, but a final decision regarding restrictions for the start of school is still dependent on the health-related circumstances in our communities late July, early August. We continue to consult with Denton County Public Health and Judge Eads. Good news, this was from a call today with the Denton County officials. There's only 14 individuals with COVID in the hospital in Denton County. That's down from 235 high in January. So great news. The other news that was reported to us earlier today is actually 58.18% of Denton County folks ages 12 plus have received at least one COVID vaccine dose. So that's a great indicator, and but there's still, of course, others that haven't. And as I said, this is also the last planned social distance limited attendance board meeting, which I know all of us are looking forward to getting back to that norm. All of us are living in the sort of the wake of what happened with House Bill 1468 regarding the legislature not passing it. We are all very disappointed. I know our board, administration, principals were very supportive of 1468, of the ability for us to provide virtual learning to our students. And I know that everyone remembers there were 1,900 of our parents that filled out an initial survey stating they were interested in virtual next school year. That was in April. And then we had them apply and still had over 900 parents apply for their child that they wanted virtual for their elementary, middle, or high school student. And then for this to just fall through after the just extensive work that our staff had done in planning. We sent a communication last week to parents stating that, hey, because this didn't pass, we're still trying to work things out, but we will assign every one of those 900 students an in-person schedule too. And as I informed the board, I did speak to the commissioner last Monday afternoon with Representative Parker. And so he assured me that there would be more update this Thursday in the commissioner's Zoom, statewide Zoom, and so we're holding off a final decision until then. And hopefully there'll be some good options, but many of our neighbors have already pulled the plug on virtual. Those that were strong advocates for it, like Frisco, Garland, Keller, have all pulled the plug. We're gonna wait until Thursday and keep our fingers crossed, but we'll certainly make a decision early next week unless there's some great news from the commissioner. So, is Sean here? There he is. Come on, Sean. So, of course, the 87th legislative session ended, and so Mr. Sheehan is going to give us sort of the. I'll drive for you. Sean,
all right. Well, good evening, Dr. Rogers. Good evening, board members. Glad to be here to provide a high-level overview of the 87th session. So none of us certainly predicted the session that came to play. I want to run it back to October, fall of last year, where largely there was a political pundits and pollsters predicted a blue wave. That blue wave resulted in one net gain of a seat in the Texas Senate. So that really didn't change much in the way of the makeup. There were still 67 Dems and 83 Republicans in the House. We saw that threshold change in the Texas Senate, which was relevant to how they kind of conducted their business. And so obviously we had COVID, we had a historic winter storm, we had an economic rebound that was much quicker than we expected, and a release of federal funds that was much slower than we expected. Education was not among the governor's top 5 emergency items. And of those 5, 2 didn't pass, which are kind of a point of contention on elections and bail reform. Lieutenant Governor Patrick had 31 legislative priorities, and of those, 20 passed. Some key ones among those that did not pass were SB 7, 10, 28, and 29. I think we definitely had a renewed sense of an understanding of Commissioner Morath's broad reach and impact. We went from weekly meetings to bi-weekly meetings, and we were really just kind of dependent upon his guidance and rulemaking on how we were running our schools. We didn't see a lot of movement in bills that either restricted or expanded his authority. So I don't know, depending on where you land on that may be good or bad, but no real wins or losses there. And we are fast approaching the deadline, June 20th, in which the governor must either sign or veto bills. If he does neither of those things, those bills become law based on the date that's in the bill. Typically, that's September 1. And we're still waiting on this line item veto for legislature pay following the Democratic walkout. So special sessions are to be determined. We know for sure that one will happen in the fall for redistricting, and then one likely in the summer to tackle maybe some of those issues. We'll see. Next slide, please, sir. So how this is organized is based on our cornerstones. That's how we establish our legislative priorities. And so looking at student learning, some bills that did pass were focused on the CTE indicator for accountability purposes. We saw the IGCs were added pretty quickly. They were effective immediately. Accelerated learning committees through HB 4545, and then a win, I would say, was in that TEA due process where 1365 looked awful, and we had submitted written testimony on the problems of it, and so we saw some of that kind of scaled back, which was to our advantage. What did not pass in regards to student learning was any reduction in assessments. At a time, there were a lot of bills focused on that. I presented those to you, and none of those passed. And the what some would dub as the Houston ISD bill from Chairman Dutton regarding kind of a TEA takeover and the accountability and campus ratings, that went by the wayside for the most part. It popped up in other places, which we'll see here shortly. So in student experience, what did pass was that serious illnesses and absences related to those would be excused. We saw some good movement in school safety. For example, providing more of a heads-up notice on any active shooter drills that would take place and making sure that those were grade and school level appropriate. We saw the counselor work time, of which 80% of their work time must be dedicated to counselor-type duties, but of course there will be a waiver in place, and that one was a little bit problematic that we dug into in terms of what happens if we can't meet that. We're seeing suicide prevention information and a national hotline number available on ID cards for students in grades 7 through 12. The red shirt bill did pass just for the next school year. There's a lot to unpack on that one, but you can just ask me questions on that one. Bullying, and then the pre-K class size limit was established at 22, which is the same for kindergarten through 4th grade. Waivers, of course, are available. And good news was compensatory ed for social-emotional learning, so more flexibility in how we use some of those funds. What didn't pass was TEA, suicide prevention, intervention, postvention. It was a really thorough program, but that didn't make the final cut. Two more, so resource stewardship. We saw SB1, the budget is passed, and HB3 is, in quotes, I will do air quotes for fully funded for HB3. Why I use the air quotes is that I think most folks don't know. When they started out selling how they would fund HB3, it would be $11.6 billion, and there is a $5.1 billion FSP reduction in that. So we want to make sure that when we're having conversations with our community that it wasn't 11.6, that figure is more like 6.5 right now. We did see what some are calling special education vouchers. They're not vouchers in the truest sense in that we would lose. They're not tied to enrollment per se. There's $1,500 available for families of students with disabilities. We're going to see how that rolls out. There are a lot of questions regarding that we'll be needing answers for. But we did get the GT, the gifted and talented allotment back. And what's tricky is that shacks are now subject to open meeting rules. So we'll have to dive into that. What did not pass was that, thankfully, outcomes-based funding, anything related to Chapter 313 also didn't pass. That's not really a pressing matter for us. District fund balances that we, Representative Huberty swore we was going to attach to another bill didn't happen, and the whole personal leave on holidays thing didn't pass either. And last cornerstone on community engagement, it really wasn't a great session for charter schools. I heard today from Dr. Charles Luke that HB 1603, that last bill that had to do with property tax exemptions, real estate for charters, was ruled unconstitutional. So it wasn't a great session for charter schools. We did see the Tim Tebow law, the UIL homeschool ruling. Online assessment, that transition online assessments is still going to happen. We talked about virtual learning. I want to thank Dr. Chris Bigenhofer for his just frequent testimony and work and hours and days worth of work on that. Fortunately, it did not pass. So I will just close with looking ahead. We still have a session that we need to figure out. The recapture is still an issue, increasingly so. So the success of HB3 in bringing that down, well, it seems like we're kind of back up. Texas School Coalition puts that figure at about $3 billion in 2023 in recapture. And the election cycle is already in full swing, and there's still a question about whether or not legislative staffers will get paid. Last thing is that I had tracked, and I will share this individually with the board members, I tracked how our delegation voted on those bills and more, and that'll be in an email. And I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Does the board have any questions? Ms. Hassett? Oh.
I just had a question about the middle school camp. Was this our first year to do that?
Mr. Cooper, yes. We initially started because we were trying to provide a place for middle schoolers those 3 days, that parents thought they were going to be in school, and we ended school 3 days early. But I think with the success that it's had, it won't be the last time. Is that right? Yeah.
Well, I just would like to extend a sincere appreciation for this program, because I think it's great for our middle school kids to have opportunities for them, and just for them to have an opportunity to get to see the great work at our TEX centers and what we're offering our kids, I think is phenomenal. And the feedback that I've gotten has been outstanding. So thank you very much.
2 questions. Did we submit a waiver for virtual to the commissioner?
Actually, we were discussing that today. We will submit not a voucher. Sorry, you met. We will submit a waiver for virtual instruction. It's my understanding a couple of other school districts have already done that. It's also my understanding that one has already gotten a reply in the negative sense. But at least they'll know that we submitted it. So we're going to go ahead and submit.
Okay. And then a question. I was looking back at 1525. Did we lose IMA funding in 1525?
We were trying to figure that out today in a meeting. It seems that it shifted.
So they had to pay for GT, and so it had to shift somewhere, and this
Correct.
is probably where it came from.
Right, so it wasn't a true cut. It was just a reallocation, and I don't have the details on where all that. It's something like $600 million went.
Okay.
Yeah, and Mr. Youngs, we talked about that earlier today. We don't think it was a bonus for us, but we don't think it was it was just sort of a wash.
Okay.
So we didn't benefit greatly from 1525, nor did we lose greatly.
Thank you for the recap.
Rosnick?
I just want some clarification from you on the virtual learning. I know you're going to make a decision next week after you have the Zoom call with the commissioner, but no matter what that call is, we are still going to be expanding our VLA program.
Great question. We absolutely plan to expand the course offerings with VLA, so we are going to, in a smaller scale, provide some more instructors for VLA, because we want to, for instance, we have no current science VLA courses. We want to create those. So there's some other work that we need to do, but so no matter what, we plan to do that.
And I was just wondering, the exploration camps, we have had camps during the summers for middle schoolers at our tech centers, but they have been a little different, correct? And will those continue during the summer? Those were not right after school ended historically.
Yeah, we're going to continue all the previous camps. It's just this was a new camp and actually sort of gave the previous camps were specific to one content, and these were sort of an overview of a lot of different CTE areas.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sheehan. So you can't sit down yet. In October, we were talking with our legislative delegation about things as simple as they would gavel in and do nothing, right? There was a lot of uncertainty when they sat here in our workshop because it was done at noon, and were uncertain as to what the future held, and I think at least it was more productive than just gaveling in, thankfully. For those who don't know, you presented all of these things in the context of our cornerstones, very well organized as usual, and appreciate it. We've come a long way from trying to monetize unfunded mandates in a spreadsheet back in 2014 to where we're at today. And so I appreciate how you've organized it and continue to reiterate it in the context that we've asked you to. And then, just so people know, this may be a bit of a hiatus for some of the legislators who are not in Austin, but we're going to continue our full court press on some of our issues, even this summer, to try and make sure that if they do go back into a special session, or whatever that means, or whatever fashion it is, that we're top of mind. At least LISD is. So thank you for leading us in that. Thank you.
There.
Okay, and a little different in my report tonight is just a brief update from Mr. White with LEF. So, you want to drive? You want me to drive?
I'll follow your lead.
I'll drive.
All right, you do that. Well, good evening, board members. I certainly appreciate you giving me a few minutes here to give you a quick update on LEF's progress over the past year. We are happy to say that in 2020, 2021, we did break the $500,000 mark given back to the district. We were right at that mark last year, so we were able to push a little bit more this year and get to 537. You can see the breakdown there. We had about $244,000 in scholarships given away in April and May. About $145,000 in both teacher grants and campus grants, and then roughly $150,000 in district and campus projects. And I do want to point out that number is pretty significant. Half of that, or about a third of that, is employee giving money. So back in the fall when we did our employee giving campaign in the worst possible time, we did it in August, right when everything was unraveling with virtual and in-person and COVID. The staff and faculty of the district gave about $100,000, a little more than $100,000, which is lower than normal, but still in that time period for the district employees to reach into their pockets and commit to this district that much is really phenomenal. So my hats are off to them. They did a great job. So those are our numbers, about $537,000. We will continue to push to increase that number this coming year. We do award based on the previous year's funding. So this coming year will be what we raised in 2021 will be awarded in 21-22. And we do that in large part because of the events we hold. You see up there the LEF Week model really worked well for us last year. We had our golf tournament on a Monday and then our Evening for Education on a Sunday. My board was gracious enough to give me 2 weeks between those two events so we can prepare a little bit more. But we will have our Golf Classic on September 27th, followed by our Evening for Ed out at Grandscape on October 10th. We're really excited about that. We're really going to try hard to feature the students a little bit more in this year's event. Everybody really responded to that last year, so we're going to keep doing that this year. And again, I wanted to put the employee giving campaign up there. We'll be in the month of August, so we're getting prepared for that. Looking ahead real quick for us, we are looking to switch our peer-to-peer fundraising platform over to a crowdfunding platform, and that is significant because we're going to be able to raise considerably more with smaller projects. So while COVID, it crashed our crowdfunding attempt last year. We're going to try to start over, but this time using the tech campuses because I think they have some projects that are really tangible and that we can really dig into with our crowdfunding platform. I did want to also mention that our board has adopted a new spending policy, which is incredibly significant for both us and our donors. It creates a lot more transparency between where the money is held in our endowment, how it is reinvested, how it is reclassified, and how it is reallocated. Because of the COVID kind of dip in fundraising, we are going to have to find additional revenue streams to fill some of those $500,000 numbers, right? So the new spending policy allows us to take from a good market year, which we had last year, and grab some of those capital gains and put them back into our scholarships and grants. So I don't predict too much of a dip in our awarding next year. There will probably be some creative financing to get that money back up there, but I anticipate a similar 540, 550 number next year. And of course, our virtual campaigns went really well this past year. The scholarship award ceremonies, we had about 5,000 views, which is significant for us because we awarded about 350 scholarships, and our in-person ceremonies can only seat about 1,000 people. So we expanded our reach by about fivefold right there. So because of that, it made us definitely rethink our virtual fundraising, and we're looking to reach out and broaden our net on the internets. So we're really excited about it. We're really happy to be here to support the district, and we can't wait to continue to grow the relationship and bring in even more dollars. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Ms. Prosnick?
I just want to thank you for spending your birthday here with us tonight.
Thank you. Please tell your husband happy birthday for me as well.
Well, Dr. White, thank you. It was brought to my attention it was your birthday, and I was going to mention it. And not only did Ms. Shells mention it, but our principal in the room did, which I'll tell you later because they obviously appreciate you. Maybe, LEF can do something for them. But thank you for all the work you guys do. And Ms. Sells did an incredible job the last couple years of going to the meetings as the president ex officio and sending us notes on what was going on in LEF. And so just know that she'll be doing that again. Don't expect that from me because the notes are very detailed, and but it was good information, and it was good to be at the meeting this week. And you have a couple new board members and a couple leaving, so appreciate the work you guys do and for our teachers and our students.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. For our first recognition tonight, I'd like to ask Kronda Timesh to make her way to the front. On behalf of the Lewisville ISD Board, I'm proud to recognize former Board of Trustees member Kronda Timesh for her outstanding service to the students, staff, families, and communities of LISD. Kronda, you were a tremendous member of our board for 5 years, and I'm grateful for all your contributions, the success of LISD during that time. As a matter of fact, today in my office, my granddaughter, I've got 2 pictures from legislative session under the glass, and one is a picture of you and Christy and Angie and I with Tan Parker. And she says, "Who's that, Poppy?" So the timing was good. We would have recognized Ms. Timesh much earlier, but just as she was resigning her position at the end of 2020-2021 school year, our country was going into a lockdown due to COVID. I'm thankful we're able to do this tonight. Please accept this plaque as a small token of our appreciation for your service, your friendship, and your stewardship to our district. Will all the board members and Dr. Rogers please step forward and get a photo? And I assume that since you had Jeff get a jacket on tonight, you may want to invite him.
Dr. Rogers, will you go on? Yep. Right in with everybody. So well done. I love it. All right, everybody look right here and smile.
I would like to thank Dr. Rogers, the board, every staff member, the families in this district. It has been an absolute honor to have served our district. I raised 4 children that went through our schools who our teachers and principals and staff and nurses did a phenomenal job I can tell you as a new parent, it's hard and it's scary and it's amazing. All the different stages of life that are, as a family, that we come alongside our teachers, and they're just like a family to us during that entire time period. And when I was able to serve on the school board, I loved every moment of it, being able to get into understanding the policies, how we can make this district better. This is a phenomenal district, and I've continued to see the district grow, the heartbeat. I can tell you that you have been in my heart and prayers this past year. That won't stop, but I can just tell you how very proud I am of the work you've done and the work you're continuing to do. And I just want to say I'm proud of every one of you that are serving. I'm here for you, and if I can ever do anything for you, my husband and I are not going away. Maybe eventually we'll get to raise some grandbabies in LISD. They're not coming yet, but we're not going away. Would love to be here. Would love to continue to give back to one of the absolute best school districts in the state of Texas. Thank you.
And let me just say, Jeff is here. We like to have fun with Jeff, but you know, most of you who are around us know that our spouses, significant others, and families sacrifice a lot for us to serve in these capacities, for us to run for office. Whether you win or lose office, as some know, it's tough on the spouses and the families. And so thank you, Jeff. And they've got 4 kids and had a couple of weddings in the time that we've served together, and at least 2 weddings that I recall. But thank you, both of you. I appreciate it very much. Okay, Chief Communications Officer Amanda Brim will now share with us this month's other recognitions and student spotlights, and very much apologize
Flower Mound High School girls soccer
for missing this last month. I'll take responsibility for it, but we're going to get it right this month, right? Thank you.
The Flower Mound High School girls soccer team won the University Scholastic League's 2021 State 6A Championship on April 16th at Birkelbach Field in Georgetown, Texas, the second championship title in program history. Using 2 second-half goals from senior Riley Baker to top Austin Vandergriff 2-1, the Lady Jags, who are coached by Misael Sapos, finished the season with a 24-1-2 record. Both of Baker's goals came on an assist from Cindy Becerra. Baker was named Most Valuable Player for the championship game. Becerra, Haley Augustine, Tatum Beck, Emma Hong, and Sky Leah were all named to the state championship all-tournament team. Congratulations, Lady Jags.
Congratulations, Lady Jags, for a tremendous accomplishment winning a state championship. Thank you, Dr. Rogers and the LISD board for recognizing these young ladies. Thank you.
This year, students from across the country submitted nearly 230,000 works of art and writing to the 2021 Scholastic Art and Writing Contest, an award program presented by the Alliance of Young Artists and Writers, whose mission is to identify students with exceptional artistic and literary talent. Lewisville ISD is happy to congratulate Andy Pearson of Flower Mound High School for receiving a silver medal in the competition for exceptional work in drawing and illustration. Only 2,000 works received a national medal, which places Pearson's artwork, monumental, within the top 1% of all submissions received. Congratulations, Andy.
Andy, congratulations on your accomplishments. I am so very proud of you. You worked so hard for many, many weeks on this artwork, and to be recognized by the National Scholastic Art and Writing event for your accomplishments has paid off. I want to say thank you to Dr. Kevin Rogers and the LISD Board of Trustees for recognizing our wonderful Andy today. I thank you guys very much, and Andy, way to go, kiddo. I'm so proud of you.
The Texas Academic Decathlon State Championships were recently held, and students from Flower Mound, Hebron, Marcus, and the Colony High Schools represented Lewisville ISD extremely well. Flower Mound's team placed second, with each team member earning a $450 scholarship. Individually, Sadie Larson brought home a silver medal in speech, Miguel Murray, a silver in math. Flower Mound is coached by Ali Schmaltz. Hebron, who finished as a regional champion for the first time in school history, were led by Sammy Kwan and Vidi Puhara, gold medalist in speech and literature scholastic. Kwan also won silver in music honor and a bronze in art honor. Akshaya Kumetha won a silver medal in art scholastic, while Colin Furnival took home the bronze in music variety. Hebron is coached by Donna Friend and Travis Zuber. Marcus was led by Zach Labendola's gold medal in speech. Caitlin William had a huge day, claiming 4 medals, silver medals in music and social science, and bronze medals in art and language and literature. Gia Lynn won a silver medal in speech. Marcus is coached by David Pike and Katie Walta. The Colony, whose team achieved its highest place in school history, also had several medalists. Ryan Arnold received a silver medal in art and a silver medal in literature in the scholastic level. In the varsity level, Layden Goebel received a bronze medal in interview and a silver medal in art. Ashton Malone received a bronze medal in literature and a gold medal in social science. The Colony is coached by Cheryl Chupi and Curry Golf. Congratulations, Jags, Hawks, Cougars, and Marauders.
Hey guys, we just want to say congratulations to our 2021 regional champion academic decathlon team.
Special shout out to Sammy, Akshaya, Vidi, and Colin for being state medalists. We are super proud of you.
Y'all worked so hard in the most difficult of years. We wanted to say thank you to the LASD board and Dr. Rogers for the special recognition.
Hello, my name is Mr. Pike.
I'm Mrs. Volta. Congratulations, students, for placing top 3 at the academic decathlon state meet this year.
And thank you, LISD, for all your support for all of the ACTEC students throughout the district.
Congratulations, TCHS Academic Decathlon. You worked day and night to place in the top 5 at state and win a $600 scholarship. And to our individual state medalists, Ryan Arnold, Layden Goebel, and Ashton Malone, congratulations, your hard work paid off. Mr. Goff and I are so proud of all of you. Thank you, LASD Superintendent Dr. Kevin Rogers, and to the LASD Board of Trustees for recognizing the Colony High School ACTEC's accomplishments.
The Texas Technology Student Association, or TSA, state competition saw Flower Mound High School and Hebron High School claiming high honors. TSA is a national association of students engaged in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and the arts, with a membership of more than 250,000 strong. Flower Mound, which received first place in school awards for high schools with 14 to 27 entries, took home 4 medals. The Jaguars won first place in software development and video game design categories. They also took third place in biotechnology design and board game design. Hebron won first place in music production and second place in coding. Congratulations, Flower Mound and Hebron students.
Congratulations, students, for your accomplishments. I know that y'all have worked night and day for this award. And I also want to thank Superintendent Dr. Rogers and also the Board of Trustees for this recognition. Thank you very much.
Congratulations and way to represent Hebron High School TSA. You guys put in some hard work to earn this accomplishment. And thank you, LISD Superintendent Dr. Kevin Rogers, and to the Board of Trustees for recognizing these students.
Thank y'all so much.
Lewisville ISD has been named a recipient of the 2021 Energy Star Partner of the Year Award by the United States Environmental Protection Agency and the U.S. Department of Energy. The honor is presented annually and recognizes organizations dedicated to managing energy use and having made contributions toward protecting the environment through superior energy achievements. LISD, which has been an Energy Star Partner since 2011, is one of only 10 school districts across the country to receive this award. Congratulations to the LISD facility teams for this tremendous honor.
Good evening. We are honored to have received this award on behalf of Lewisville ISD. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Facility Services Energy Management Team and all the staff and students across the district who help with our energy conservation efforts. And thank you, Dr. Rogers and the Board of Trustees, for this recognition tonight.
The National Association of Elementary School Principals recently announced Lewisville ISD's STEM Academy at Donald Elementary and Liberty Elementary Schools are 2 of only 8 elementary schools nationwide to be named 2021 School of Excellence Award winners. This award recognizes outstanding achievement by student councils in the area of community service, student leadership, citizenship, and school spirit based on a completed application encompassing activities from an entire school year. Congratulations to these 2 schools. Thank you for positively representing not only your campus, but your district nationwide. LISD is proud of you.
Congratulations to our Student Council for earning the School of Excellence Award for the 4th year in a row. Thank you, LISD Board of Trustees, for recognizing our students and their hard work this year.
Thank you, LISD Board of Trustees and District Leadership Team members for this recognition this evening. As principal and lead advisor, I continue to be so proud of the work our students here at Liberty do on behalf of our school and community. This is the 6th consecutive honor of this Council of Excellence Award, and it will not be our last. We all thank you for the continued support and opportunity to provide this leadership program to our students. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Board of Trustees.
Lewisville ISD had several students earn awards in the Texas PTA Reflections Art Competition. Coming away with the top award was Forest Vista Elementary student Ariana Matthew, who received the overall Award of Excellence for her music composition entitled I'm Important. Award of Excellent recipients included Briar Hill Middle School's Dylan James Shaw, music composition, Briar Hill Middle School Sam Brasher, visual arts, and Hebron High School's Ashley Chon, visual arts. Award of Merit recipients include Castle Hill Elementary's Parker Sinke, visual arts, Donald STEM Academy's Caston Cooks, film production, Donald STEM Academy's Harry Yank Rahman, literature, Timber Creek Elementary's Gabriella Chang, literature, and Valley Ridge STEM Academy's Keller Garrett, film production. Congratulations to these amazing young artists.
Hello, it's Teron Hicks with the Lewisville ISD Council of PTAs. I just want to say congratulations to all of our outstanding students that competed in the Texas PTA Reflections Competition. Dr. Rogers and our amazing school board, thank you for recognizing our students. Have an incredible summer, and again, congratulations on a job well done.
3 LISD high schools earned top awards in the Interscholastic League's Press Conferences State Competition and the Texas Association of Journalism Educators Best of Texas Awards and Best of the Best Online Broadcast Awards. In the ILPC competition, Hebron High School had 4 first-place wins, 2 second-place wins, and 6 third-place wins. Lewisville High School had 1 first-place win, Marcus High School had 10 first-place wins, 9 second-place wins, and 15 third-place wins. In the Best of the Best Online Broadcast Awards, Hebron had one of the Best award winners, and Marcus had 4 first runner-up recipients and 2 second runner-up recipients. In the Best of the Best Texas Newspaper and Broadcast Awards, Hebron had 7 excellent winners and 1 superior winner. Lewisville had 7 excellent winners and 1 superior winner. Marcus had 8 excellent winners and 17 superior winners. Congratulations to all these hardworking Journalism State Award winners.
I just want to say thank you to Dr. Rogers and the school board for taking time to recognize our newspaper and broadcast students for their recognition in the TAJE Best of Texas contest. Texas is one of the top scholastic journalism states in the country, so anytime our students can be recognized on the state level, it's a big deal, and so appreciate the board and Dr. Rogers taking time to recognize them today.
Here at Lewisville High School, we are so proud of our students and their successes with the Texas Association of Journalism Educators Best of Texas Awards this year. Their hard work and dedication to earn these accomplishments has been amazing. Thank you, Dr. Rogers and the board, for taking the time to recognize our journalism students. Go Farmers.
Despite all the obstacles we faced this year, our students amazed us with their perseverance and dedication to Marcus journalism. We are so proud of all the awards they won at this year's state conventions, including the Silver Star. Thank you, Dr. Rogers and the board, for taking this time to highlight our students.
The Flower Mound High School girls water polo team finished 20-0, capping the season off with a 2021 state championship title. Addison McGowan was named state MVP, while Gwyneth Lee and Natalie Stearns were named first team All-State. Kaylee Pfister was named second team All-State, Jillian Capps was named honorable mention All-State, and Coach Goddard was named the state coach of the year. Nicely done, Jags.
Hi, I just wanted to say congratulations to our Flower Mound Lady Jags water polo team as they won state this year. They worked so hard all year to get to this point, and we just want to thank Dr. Rogers and the rest of the school board for taking the time to recognize us.
Students from across the district achieved statewide success in the UIL State Academic Meet. Flower Mound High School's Ritesh Kanchi won first place in computer applications. Advait Bhattacharya placed second in social studies, and the FMHS team of Advait Bhattacharya, Dylan Zoe, and Rajit Gula won first place in social studies. Hebron High School's Haley Dirks won first place in feature writing, and first time a Hebron journalism student has won a state title and tops in Texas for her story, meaning she topped all feature writing winners from 1A through 6A. Hebron's Mally O'Carroll placed fifth in headline writing, and with their 2 medals combined, Hebron Journalism placed second. LHS Harmon's Sanika Harris placed second in spelling and vocabulary, and Marcus High School's Vincent Wynn placed third in calculator applications. Congratulations to these bright and talented students.
We are enormously proud of the work that these students have done and the successes that they have earned. They have worked countless hours this year, both virtually and in person, to achieve what they have achieved. Thank you, Dr. Rogers. Thank you, board, for recognizing them, and also for your continued support and expectation of academic excellence, not only at Flower Mound High School, but throughout the district.
Thank you to Dr. Rogers and the school board for taking some time to recognize Haley Dirks, Mally O'Carroll, and their work at the UIL Academic State Meet. Haley is Hebron's first ever state champion in a UIL journalism event and feature writing, and for Mally to get to the state meet, place fifth in her event, and then combine for the second place journalism team award as well. It's just a big deal. And so I appreciate you guys taking the time to recognize them today.
We are so proud of Sanika Harris in so many ways, but more specifically, we are proud of her for the accomplishment of placing second in the state UIL academic competition of spelling and vocabulary. She missed tying for first place by only 1 point in the tiebreaker. She is a diligent and intelligent young lady who is the epitome of the representation for LISD, and more specifically, LHS Harmon. I want to thank Dr. Rogers and the board for taking the time to recognize her.
Hey, Vincent. Congratulations, man. Being the top 3 in this event is incredibly hard. Doing all of your engineering skills and the speed that it has to take to do this well as well. Incredible. I'm very, very proud of you. I'm very proud that I am able to call myself your coach. Your medal just came today, so I will get that to you as well. Thank you, LISD, for all of your support. We really appreciate you, and we look forward to congratulating him next year as well.
The Colony High School senior Elizabeth Gabriette claimed the girls' state wrestling championship title. Gabriette came back from a defeat to beat an undefeated athlete to wrap up her season, undefeated with a 27-0 record. The Colony's first undefeated state wrestling champion. TCHS senior Hudson Herring also made it to the state title match. He finished as the boys' state runner-up. Way to go, Elizabeth and Hudson.
We are so proud of Elizabeth and Hudson, everything that they have accomplished for us this year during the
UIL State Wrestling Championships. Their hard work and effort this year has been amazing, especially in such a crazy year that they had to go through for their senior years. Dr. Rogers, School Board, thank you so much for recognizing our kids today. It means a lot to us.
Hebron High School's girls varsity golf team won the 2020 UIL 6A State Golf Championship, capturing the first state title in Hebron's golf program. The Hebron Hawks shot back-to-back rounds of 299 for a two-day total of 598 to lead them to their first place finish, finishing 7 strokes ahead of Vandergrift High School. Junior Samaron Shaw led the team karting a 74-72 for a 146 total to finish top 5. Junior Samantha Strait tied for 13th place with a total score of 150. Juniors Estelle Sion and Morgan Harrell both tied for 16th place with individual scores of 151. And senior Gracie Triboulet tied for 54th place with a total score of 163. Congratulations, Hawks.
Hi everyone, this is Coach Shred over from Hebron High School. I'm jumping on to say how proud of our girls golf team everyone here at Hebron is, and I know everyone across the board, for winning the 6A State Golf Championship this year. The girls put in so much hard work over the year. They showed so much grit, so much determination, and to see it all come together on this large of a stage is something that I will never forget. I'm so thankful to Dr. Rogers and our school board for their support and for recognizing our girls golf team. Go Hawks!
Flower Mound High School Catherine Forehand was named the winner of the Congressional District 26 Art Competition for her oil painting entitled Boompa and the Girls. As the grand prize winner, Catherine's artwork will be displayed for an entire year in the U.S. Capitol. Catherine was recognized by U.S. Congressman Michael C. Burgess at his district office. Her family, including her grandfather, Boompa, were in attendance for the recognition. Congratulations, Catherine.
Boompa and the girls are going to Washington. Thank you, Dr. Rogers and the board, for recognizing Catherine Forehand on her amazing success with the Congressional Art Competition. This is going to Washington. Thank you so much.
This year was historic for the Flower Mound High School softball program. FMHS coach Mark Lariva was recognized for 300-plus wins with the Jaguars and his 450th win overall as a coach. FMHS finished first in the district with a 14-0 record, won by district, area, regional quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals. To close the team season, they tied for third place in the 2021 UIL State Championship semifinal. Great job, Jaguars.
Hi, LISD Board and Dr. Rogers. My name is Allie Baird, and I am the co-head coach of the Flower Mound softball team with Marco Lariba. I am sending this video on behalf of both of us. We just wanted to thank you so much for your constant support and encouragement and guidance throughout this crazy year, for always putting teachers and students first. We couldn't have made it to the state semifinals without you guys. It was a historical accomplishment, and we are so thankful and blessed for your support. Thank you.
Students from Flower Mound, Hebron, and Marcus High Schools medaled at this year's track and field state meet. Flower Mound High School's Abigail Counts won first place in the wheelchair shot put and the 400-meter race, and second place in the wheelchair 100-meter race. Hebron High School's Katie Broadbent placed third in the wheelchair 400-meter race, and Isaac Barrera placed third in the 800-meter race. Marcus High School's Emma Sharala placed third in the discus throw. Congratulations to these hardworking and talented student athletes.
Proud to recognize Abigail Counts for her 2 state titles this past track and field season. She broke the state record in the 400-meter wheelchair race in 1 minute and 7 seconds, and she was also state champion in the seated shot put. In addition to that, Abigail Counts was second in the 100-meter wheelchair race. She's a great athlete, inspires all those around her through her hard work and determination. I want to thank Dr. Rogers and the school board for recognizing her on what a great season she had. Thank you.
Hey, it's Coach Capo at Hebron High School. I want to take a second
to say how extremely proud we are of Katie Broadband getting third place in the 400-meter wheelchair, as well as Isaac Barrera getting third place in the 800-meter boys race down at the UIL state track meet. Definitely these kids worked extremely hard this year, as everyone has. Super proud of their accomplishments and proud of who they are as young human beings in the world. Definitely stoked at their Hawks, because Hawk Pride never dies. Also want to thank the Dr. Rogers and the board for recognizing them this evening. Again, Hawk Pride, baby.
Hi, my name is Andy Reinberg. I'm the head coach at Marcus High School. I just want to take a minute to recognize our outstanding athlete, Emma Shrala, for her incredible year in the discus. She finished third place at the state meet this year, and we've got great things to come, so I'm extremely proud of her. Thank you, Dr. Rogers and the board, for recognizing her here at the board meeting this evening.
In LISD, the road to digital citizenship begins in kindergarten. Then, when students begin to opt into the district's 1-2X program, students learn extensively about topics such as intellectual property, digital footprint, identity, cyberbullying, and more. It's due to the district's commitment to teaching the importance of digital citizenship that LISD earned the Common Sense District honor. Nearly all of LISD's elementary and middle schools have been recognized as Common Sense schools, and the district is one of 63 across the country and one of only 9 in Texas to earn the Common Sense District distinction. In addition, more than 500 teachers and administrators across the district took the extra step to earn their Common Sense Educator badge, furthering their commitment to helping students think critically and use of technology responsibly.
This accomplishment was made possible thanks to the diligence of the digital learning team, campuses, and teachers. Thank you, Dr. Rogers and trustees, for recognizing this valuable distinction.
Thank you, Ms. Brim. Persons desiring to address the Board of Trustees must fill out speakers cards. No presentation shall exceed 3 minutes. The board cannot deliberate on any subject that is not included on the agenda.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Miller. And before I move on to this, I just wanted to say, even though we missed last month, I mean, you see, even if you take 2 months' worth, that's a lot of recognitions, a lot of great work by our students, and amazing talents and skills, and of course, all the work by our staff that support them. So with that, I'd like to ask that Jonas Green come to the podium, and we'd like to take the first 3 minutes and give a special recognition.
Good evening, Board and Dr. Rogers. I'm here tonight because we were excited that almost a little over a year ago we were approached by Mrs. Rao, and she wanted to expand STEM programming here in our district, and generously offered for us to look into a STEM truck for the district that would go from campus to campus at our elementary schools. And so over the last few months, we have been conducting research into this possibility for our district. We brainstormed many options and looked at other mobile STEM trucks in the area. What you see here on the screen is the Perot Museum truck, and this is what we decided would fit the LISD students the best, and so we came up with some options for this truck. And so up here you'll see that the truck that we would have for LISD is a 2021 Ford Transit with a high roof, and it would have a solar panel on the top which would power external outlets and internal outlets, so the students can have not only power while they're at the truck but also a STEM learning opportunity for how the solar panel works on top of the truck. There'd be an ADA ramp on the back of it, and that would allow for students to enter the truck and do activities not only inside the truck but outside and around the truck as well. It would have Wi-Fi capabilities, interior shelving and LED lighting with mounted supplies throughout the entire truck, and then an outdoor retractable shade awning to provide shade during the warmer weather here in Texas. And so these were the options of what we presented to Mrs. Rao for this truck.
Okay. All right, so on the next slide, we're excited that this truck will have the opportunity to be able to go out to campuses across our district, those that are not currently receiving some of the STEM enrichments, such as our science discovery and STEM specials rotations. So we know that the naming and the theme is going to really drive the outside, the exterior wrap of the truck, and so we want that to be something that's very engaging for the students. And so we have surveyed some of our current STEM teachers to get some ideas on that, and one that has come to the top has been the Wonder Wagon with a superhero theme, much like our friend that we saw in the video earlier. But students being able to discover their STEM superpowers. Also, we just wanted to let you know at this point, Finance Department has gone through to look at and get quotes from the vendors for a price of about $175,000 for the startup cost of all the hands-on materials and the truck itself and all the things that Jonas spoke about. So with that said, I want to just give a huge, amazing just gratitude to the Rao family for this amazing opportunity.
Hi, my name is Seishu, and I represent the Rao Foundation, and our main goal at the foundation is to support any children's educational and pediatric health and environmental causes. So I'm very glad to make the science truck a reality. Thank you so much.
And I just... Seshu, we're going to get a picture. I just wanted to say Dr. Rapp and I have had the great privilege to be working with Seshu for probably several years, and even before that, her and her husband have been great supporters of various programs in LISD, and we just are greatly appreciative. And so, of course, we want a photo op real quick before you get away. And board, she's presenting a check for
$150,000.
Yeah, $150,000 to LIC.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you very much for that. That's, I think, the biggest check we've received at this podium. So thank you. Okay. Our first speaker, Steffi Bell. Hello, Ms. Bell.
Hard to follow that. I will try. I don't have much more to provide other than words, however, I will warn you. Good evening. My name is Stephanie Bell, and I shouldn't have to be here today. I have a 2-year-old son, not yet in school. So why am I here at an LISD school meeting? I'm here because on May 17th, 2021, Downing Middle School published its yearbook encapsulating the year. Like your yearbook many years ago, it's a time capsule. The design of the yearbook was overseen by the art teacher and yearbook sponsor, Mrs. Kayla Mick. And artwork and the content was decided upon by the students on the yearbook staff. The artwork was chosen that represents major events in our community and around the world, including
the documentation of racial inequality protests, COVID-19, the 2020 presidential election, and support of basic human rights. But it was the Black Lives Matter sticker that upset some. Or maybe it was the Science is Real sticker. Perhaps it was the George Floyd sticker that read, I can't breathe. After some complaints, LISD chose to suspend Mrs. Mick. What a dangerous precedent to send to our children. A few days after the suspension, a Downey parent called me nearly in tears, which is how I came into this story. They were fully against the suspension. They were fully against the investigation. They were going to be interviewed by press, and they didn't want their neighbors seeing them speaking with the news against the suspension. Furthermore, they were afraid that their neighbors would hear them saying that indeed Black lives do matter. They were afraid of that. So they called the only person that they knew that they could trust. Me, where my views are out there. My address is out there. My phone number is all public record, public knowledge. And so my phone rang and I answered. I had never spoken or met with this family until that day when they were interviewed at my home. By the time the interview was over, I started a petition with a large group of Downing parents and concerned citizens in Flower Mound to reverse the suspension and end the baseless investigation. 50,000 people have now signed the petition and agree with us. It's made international news. LISD in the news for all the wrong reasons, embarrassing reasons. I'm against the censorship of our former twice impeached president, and I'm fully against this censorship. Censorship in journalism simply because you disagree with the content is not only unacceptable, it's dangerous. In 2014, Flower Mound's mayor, Tom Hayden, said, and I quote, Texas is seeing much immigration. We need to be on guard because I can feel the shift happening under our eyes.
Thank you, Ms. Bell.
The shift is...
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Appreciate it. Next speaker, Beth Varma. Hi, Beth.
Hi, so I'm Beth Varma. I was not expecting to speak, so I'll do my best to speak real quickly. My kids went to Heritage at Briar Hill and Marcus. I've got an 11th grader at Marcus. We moved here for the schools, love the schools, very happy. I just wanted to speak for Miss Mick and for the yearbook staff. As you guys probably know, there's a bunch of people out there wanting to be here and frustrated that they can't be in here. And that's the only reason I'm speaking is because I can't be in here any other way. And, you know, it's frustrating for people to not be able to be here. I think that you could make room for them. I really do. 6 feet away, masks if you want. I feel like it's really muzzling them. And I think it's illegal to do that during an open meeting. I may or may not be wrong about that. But I'll say my piece. First of all, as I said, wanted to support Ms. Mick and the yearbook staff. I think those kids did an amazing job on the yearbook. In terms of the slogans that people were up in arms about, Black Lives Matter. Well, Black lives do matter. And people that come back with all lives matter, I'm sorry, they don't get it. They don't get what's going on today to Black people being muzzled themselves, being hurt, being ignored, racism is everywhere, and it's not getting much better. And so they're frustrated, and I'm frustrated as well. In terms of science is real, some people had a problem with that. Well, science is real. Love is love. I don't know if that was an issue with gay individuals, trans individuals, but love is love. It's very simple. It's quite simple in my eyes. Women's rights are human rights. I don't think anything was wrong with any of those things. And in any case, it was what the kids wanted on the yearbook. This is their yearbook. This is their year. This was current events. This is what they saw happening. And this is what they wanted on their yearbook. It was their choice. So I just, as I said, want to offer support for Ms. Mick and for the yearbook staff. I think they did amazing. I think Ms. Mick should be congratulated and apologized to, as I hope she has been. I think she has been by some people. Some people had a problem with I can't breathe. Well, George Floyd was murdered for no good reason, and it was a horrible murder. And these kids didn't like that, okay? They don't like the racism they're seeing today. So if you don't...
Thank you, Ms. Varman, and thank you for the work that you do in our community to help those underprivileged folks. Appreciate it. Jocelyn McMurray, we'll let her. Jocelyn, I'm having a hard time with your last name. Okay, that was the guess.
Okay. So this is the first time for me. My name is Jocelyn McMurray, and I do live in Lewisville. I'm retired. There's my neighbor there. And I am retired, and I have no children in the system. However, I just came back from vacation in Las Vegas, and on the news was about this little town in North Texas that had a problem with a yearbook. And they couldn't understand why. They made a joke of it, because there was nothing on there that they could see that represented anything bad or any untruth. And so my concern, and the reason I wanted to come here tonight, was to understand, what did the teacher and the principal do wrong? And what kind of a message are we sending our children when we're asking them to be honest and to say things, and then we're going to slap the teacher for doing what she did, and she received permission? That's the one issue or my concern. And the second is, why would the principal be required to send out notes to people apologizing? Because then it still looks like there's something that they did wrong. And I guess what I was hoping for was a response or something from you guys to understand what went wrong and what went wrong with the communication piece that allowed something like this to happen that would spoil my vacation, to see this on the news as people laughing at it, because I live in that little North Texas town. So I guess you guys don't give any answers, you just let us speak. And again, this is my first time, but I will be back, because again, it is concerning when we don't let a natural process of communication manage the process. And I guess that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Murray. Our protocol McMurray, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Our protocol is not to respond. As a matter of law, we can't deliberate, so we will provide you a response to a limited degree, thanking you for attending. And
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for showing up.
Mm-hmm.
It's too bad you've got that neighbor.
He's a good neighbor. We have competing signs. We're good.
Thank you. Heather Lewis. Hi, Ms. Lewis.
All right, I wasn't planning on speaking either, but since we weren't allowed in here and this was our only opportunity, I feel very passionate about what's going on. The fact that a sticker that says Black Lives Matter, science is real, kindness is everything, is offensive to parents and to y'all. To open up an investigation is just so upsetting and hurtful to me. Those statements on that sticker are what I try to instill in my children, that's just humanity. My question to you is, do Black Lives matter to you? Because by opening up this investigation, it tells your Black and brown students that their lives don't matter to you. Does love mean everything? Does that statement offend you? Because if it offends you, then you're telling your LGBTQ students, who are already at a high risk for suicide because they already do feel subjugated in our community, that's hurtful to them. Saying women's rights are human rights, you're telling your female students that you don't believe that they have equal rights as their male counterparts. Like I said, these are things that are just what we try to instill in our children, and it's humanity. I want my kids to think or know Black Lives Matter, to know women's rights are human rights. I want them to fight for justice. And what you guys did to this poor teacher is unconscionable. And the message you're sending to the students that you say that you protect is unconscionable. I already have an issue with the fact that you guys removed masks. And I've had multiple discussions with Mr. Miller because I'm a nurse. I saw it firsthand. And to see so many people that are anti-maskers, knowing that there's still a huge group of students that can't get vaccinated because they're not old enough, or teachers that can't get vaccinated because they may have an autoimmune disease, or maybe on a medication that negates the vaccine. There are medications out there that do that. There are illnesses out there that put people at such high risk. You're putting children and their families that are immunocompromised at risk. You're putting teachers that are immunocompromised. This whole year and everything that's come down from the school board has been so disappointing. And I hope that you guys can look in your hearts and see what you're doing and see the message that you're sending to these children and see the message that you're sending to families that have sick individuals who can't get vaccinated. So I'm sorry, I didn't have anything else prepared, but that's all.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Okay, our next item is consent items. Would someone like to make a motion?
Mr. Miller, I'd like to pull H2F.
H2F as in Frank?
Yes, please.
Any others? Ms. Cox?
I'd like to pull, well, how did you get H2F? I've got like one.
Oh,
like
maybe
H.
it's not H.
One H, one J.
H is
You pull
consent items are under. Yes.
Okay, so I want to pull the H and the J, and then under the general.
Which number one?
Yes, 1H.
HJ.
H1J, and then 2C.
So H1H, H1J, and H2C.
Yes.
Okay. Rosnick?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull H2A.
H2A. Any others? Okay. Can I get a motion excluding those items?
I'll try it. I move that the board approve the consent agenda items except for the items pulled for separate consideration, H2F, H2H, H1H, I apologize, H1J, H2C, and H2A.
Have a second? Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. First item, H2F, Ms. Sells.
Yes, I'd like to move that the board approve the consent agenda item H2F as recommended by administration.
Do I have a second? Ms. Cox? Any discussion? Ms.
Yes.
Sells?
Yes, I just wanted to point out this item deals with our SROs that we have on our campuses, and it is approval of school resource officers in partnership with the City of Carrollton, the City of the Colony, City of Highland Village, City of Lewisville, and the Town of Flower Mound. And I just wanted to speak to the impact that our SROs have on our campuses. Our SROs are there, they train, they educate, they counsel, they protect, and they serve as a safety resource for our school communities. If you've ever been on any of our campuses with our SROs, you will know that most of the kids know who the SRO is. It is taken into account that our staff knows who they are because they're staff just like they are. But the relationship that our SROs have with those kids, they are our frontline defense when something happens on our campuses. They are the eyes and the ears of our campus. And I just wanted to extend a heartfelt thanks to these communities that partner with us in the cost of having those SROs on those campuses. We probably could not do it on our own to the extent that we do if we had to pay for it by ourselves, and wouldn't have that level of expertise that we have. I will tell you, these communities send their finest to our schools, and for that we are much appreciative. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sells. Anybody else? I would just echo that. I think, we all know many of these SROs. We've had a chance to meet them. I think that, one of the game changers, and we've talked about this before, we talk about it every year, is when they started high-fiving students at the graduations as they came down the ramp, and just the relationship that you can observe as a board member between students and SROs is not just that they're police officers that are in schools, but they're actually people that develop a relationship. And I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention again, when we had a difficult time in our country after George Floyd and there were peaceful protests, I was able to witness one of our SROs engage with the community. And it was clear that he had a relationship with students such that he could speak to some of the issues and talk about being a safe place for them. So this is one that I wish we could do more. We're always asked to do more. Cities would like us to do more, but grateful that we're able to do what we do, and grateful for the municipalities, particularly the 5 or 6 that are part of this program. With that said, if there's no other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Ms. Cox, 3 items.
I'll make a motion for the first. I move that the board approve consent agenda item H1H as recommended by administration.
A second. Ms. Prosnick, discussion?
Yes, thank you. I'm not going to be supporting this motion because although I think online surveys are very important, and as as a parent of students here at the district, I appreciate the surveys, but I just don't feel that the cost should be justified coming off of a pandemic year. I feel that we need to work on more ways to get people to do the surveys. And I know the comments that were made in the workshop were about giving people more opportunities to say more things, which I've been a huge advocate of. But honestly, in the end, I don't know how many people are really going to take time to do that. If I have a problem with somebody or a teacher, I think many people will pick up the phone and they're going to call to address the problem rather than, a survey format. So I would rather get a little more research on this to maybe see it next year come up as an agenda item.
Mr. Colbeck, is this Qualtrics? Yeah. So, Ms. Cox, appreciate your dissent. I was going to pull this one as well. I think that, again, respecting your dissent, if we were able to, in the procurement process, talk more about this, about the vendor, which I think Mr. Colbeck or Dr. Rapp, Dr. Fitzhugh, Sarah, where yet? That there's opportunity. I think to Ms. Cox's point, this vendor can do a lot more with what they call signals. These are other channels besides online surveys, and I think that the process of procurement didn't allow us to maybe bubble some of that up, and I think there's some value to Ms. Cox's point of maybe sharing more about the capability. This is the number 2 provider in this space. They're owned by SAP. They're very highly regarded, and I think it's important to, when I mentioned last week that I was going to pull this, it was because they're a lot more than online surveys. So I think that's what we see today. It's a fair observation. Totally agree with your point, and that's why I think we should maybe talk a little bit more about their capabilities as we look at this going forward, because employee experience also gets combined with how they do things, and I think it will address it, but certainly appreciate, given what is known now, that point of view. And I agree with you on online surveys. I think, we've got a bit of fatigue in our life, right? And so it's a fair observation. Any other comments?
Dr. Fitzhugh, would you mind coming to
I mean, just again, would you just remind the board why we believe that it's important? And I know it's just one slice of what Qualtrics does, but why we believed it was important for some of the things that we're trying to do to measure.
So one of the pieces that we're looking at is we're trying to get more input, authentic input from our stakeholders. And so that involves more open-ended questions and also sending out surveys in more languages because we have so many languages spoken in the district. Qualtrics represented a tool that provided both of those. In addition to, it works with several of our other systems so that we can pull data in multiple ways and do different analytics. They also provide a lot more analytics in terms of dashboards so that we can look at the data and not spend the time trying to go through and read it. We can actually digest and make some decisions versus me trying to create graphs and survey and filter and figure out what it means. So it was just a very good tool that had lots of options and really is unlimited potential. We're starting with our surveying pieces because that was the biggest need right now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fitzhugh. Anyone else? All right, with that said, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ms. Cox? Motion passes 6-1.
I'm also taking this one. I move that the board approve consent agenda item H1J as recommended by administration.
Do I have a second? I'll second. Ms. Sells? Discussion.
This was the other item that I pulled. Although I do appreciate the session at the work session, the presentation, at this time I don't feel that coming off again a pandemic year that we need to install an attendance data management. I think that's more that the attendance clerks are going to be responsible for. That's one more program for them to learn, as I mentioned in the workshop, and I think we're just trying to get back to some normalcy at the school for starting next year, and I wouldn't want to add one more thing to our teachers. So again, maybe evaluating next year.
Anybody else?
This isn't on the teachers, though, right? It's on campus.
Yeah,
Okay,
this doesn't affect teachers, nor does it affect attendance clerks, if I'm not mistaken, right, Mr. Kaj or Ms. Clark?
Attendance clerks will have the dashboard in order for them to see the students that they need to process and do the necessary paperwork to file in the truancy courts.
I would also like to add, just for clarification, that this is work that attendance clerks already have to do and that administrators already have to do. What we're seeking to do with this program is actually make it easier for them to do that job and to be able to capture more of that lost attendance. We actually think it's going to help them do the job better that they already have to do.
And board, just to be clear, I actually had some questions, concerns, more questions and concerns after the previous presentation, and so that was why you saw the work that Ms. Clark provided even more information to y'all regarding return on investment, because I don't like spending what's the $100,000.
Yes, sir.
Unless I know there is some return, and so that's why they dug in and did even more research. So anyway, I just wanted to be clear. There were some questions on my part too, but I absolutely support this if I believe it is necessary.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers. And just so you know, I think my dissent on this is a timing issue. I appreciate the work that you guys have put into it, understand it, but because of the pending employee services audit, I'm just a little apprehensive. So that's where my dissent lies. It doesn't lie in any disrespect for what you're trying to do, because I do think it's important we do it. It's just that it's unclear as to how it all comes together at this point. Okay, any other discussion?
Well, one more thing, just,
Okay.
I think Dr. Rogers, you brought up a great point. I'm not saying this isn't a good avenue, but I think to utilize this as, I don't know if they used data for this last year, but I think having virtual and in-person students, of course it was hard to keep track of our students. And I think, this wasn't brought the year before when we had a full year of attendance. So I would rather see how effective this is going to be when we have everybody in person and, how effective it will be. So that's really my main point, is how we're judging this on last year.
No, and I appreciate that, Ms. Cox. I know your heart is you want to improve, and I also understand timing's everything. So we understand that if we don't implement it for this summer going into next year, then we would wait a year to bring it back, because I don't believe this is absolutely not something we would try to implement mid-year during the school year.
Any other comments? Did you?
I just have a question, because the truancy is what really gets me. Who does the paperwork now for the truancy? Sorry, Ms. Clark, for making you come back.
The attendance clerks
and
gather the data through Skyward.
So each campus does it a little bit different. Depends on whether we're talking about elementary, middle, or high school. The burden can be dispersed differently, but it's an administrative responsibility to direct those processes. And depending on how they're staffed and organized, they use the attendance clerks and other office staff to differentiating degrees. So there's a lot of pieces. There's tracking, how are the absences, who are the students we need to identify, and then what are all the different levels of intervention that are necessary. And so it's really a combined effort between administrators and support staff.
But let's be clear, if they go to truancy court, it's an administrator going to truancy court. It's just that the data, the actual attendance record is created by the...
So is this just like a paper worksheet that they check off at this point, or is there already a program that they're using to make sure they don't miss any of this? Because at the workshop, I got that this was more of a tool for progressing through attendance issues, more so than just the attendance taking tool. Am I wrong?
No, ma'am, this has nothing to do with attendance taking. This is a tool that will take the data that is produced in Skyward through attendance taking. The data comes into this program and creates, for starters, a dashboard of activity. It identifies the students who are starting to be at risk for both truancy and chronic absenteeism, and then it will spell out for the campus what interventions are required and recommended along that path, and provide them they can actually go in and literally from the click of a button automatically print out all the letters that need to go home, email those to parents automatically with the click of a button. It can generate behavior contracts that are required. It can tell them it's time for a home visit. It will be able to pull together a truancy packet for filing when it's at that stage. So every stage of working with students who are truant or chronically absent is built into the program step by step for the campuses.
And so right now, do they have just like a file folder on their computer, and there's that, I got to send this document, and I got to send this document, and I got to send this document, and I got to send this, so they're pulling all that stuff up without it being generated?
Yes, ma'am. So they may be pulling up a template for a letter, typing in the address, getting it printed. Some of them have built some mail merge capacities themselves at the high school to try to improve the process. They may have a Google spreadsheet where they're tracking kids, but the problem with that is, like, if I want to really know what's going on with attendance in real time, I'm running reports from Skyward every single day, and then I'm putting that information, in some cases manually, into a spreadsheet to monitor, instead of having a program where in real time I can see exactly where each student is that is in danger.
And can you answer me what happens if we go to truancy court and in all of this muck of a paperwork we've missed something? What happens?
They reject our filing. And nothing else happens.
Thank you.
I've got to jump in here. I'm sorry. This is about $100,000, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the average over the last 4 years, including what was last year, which was an anomaly, was about $2.8 million in lost revenue because of attendance problems.
I believe it was the average, perhaps, yes.
Yeah, the average. And so time on task is foundational to education, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You anticipate recouping $100,000 at least?
I am very hopeful that we would have that kind of return on investment. I will add that one of the things that we're very concerned about is, and one of the reasons I ran 4 years of data, is I wanted both us and for you to be able to see not just the weirdness of this last COVID year and even the year before, because we had one full quarter of 100% present attendance, but looking back to 2019 and 2018, you can see that those concerns were there as well. We have some really big concerns that some of the poor attendance habits and patterns that you can see in the 2021 data are going to continue, even with a return to normal, if you will. And we want to be prepared to respond to that because we won't have hold harmless, and that's a real big concern for us.
And I think during the workshop we talked about you all standardizing some of the attendance practices and in fact, the early interventions that Ms. Sells was visiting about, correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bonner. Just to be clear, we're not losing we're losing $2.8 million, but bringing this system in doesn't necessarily close that gap, correct?
If you're asking me, I don't think that's true. Anything that the program, the software, and our staff would recoup over 4% would pay for this program if my math is correct.
Go ahead, Dr. Rogers.
No, I was going to say there is no guarantee, but I absolutely believe that we'll recoup that $100,000 just by being more efficient as we hopefully take earlier interventions. First off, to me, that's the most important step. We want to intervene before we have to take them to JP court. Anyway, that's absolutely our goal.
Thank you, Ms. Cox.
Okay, then to Dr. Bonner, what he's saying. So we're just bringing this to the district now. So what was the figure you mentioned, Dr. Bonner?
I saw an average of $2.8 million in lost revenue.
Okay, and I've been on this board over 6 years. So does that mean the district loses this millions of dollars every year for truancy because we're not, for some reason? I mean, have we been losing this kind of money year after year since I've been on the board?
So statistically, if you look at just the 4 years that we ran, you can see that that number was based on, when we look at just truant students, the totality of their absences for those students. So yes, that number is there. We previewed this product, I want to say 3 years ago when Dr. Copeland was still here, and at that point the decision was made not to bring it forward as an item. So it was being discussed, it just hasn't come forward. And the need is very real, and it would have been I think appropriate to bring it forward sooner.
Ms. Brosnick, did you have a?
No, I just wanted to say that I believe what my favorite thing about this is, quite frankly, this cost as much as the employee banquet. And I think that this impacts students and student learning, which is why we're here. And the interventions that it can happen earlier is what is the most important. Every time you talk to somebody in education, they talk about early intervention, and that's what this program does. It's an early intervention program so that, once again, we can target students so that we can help them be in school and be here to learn. Return on investment, I think the return on investment of getting a child to attend and have good attendance is, quite frankly, I don't think you can measure it. We can measure it in the dollars of what we get from the state, but I don't think you can measure the ripple effect of having an impact on a student to stay in school.
Thank you, Ms. Brosnick. I think it's a great point. No doubt, regardless of the money, the time on task, or getting students involved, I think the issue is, we've had 7 days to think through this, and it's, if you look at the last 3 years, it would suggest that there's a $9 million gap, and we're just kind of learning about it, and that's my fundamental concern, right? I think that it's probably something, if it passes, great. If not, you all should bring it back to us again, and we have some more time to prep on it. So are there any other questions or discussion? Okay, with that said, all in favor say aye. All opposed? Ms. Cox, Mr. Miller, what's your vote, Ms. Sells? I was yes. You were yes? Okay. Motion passes 5-2. Who's got this one? Ms. Cox.
Sorry. Consider approval of the final completion to authorize administration to pay for the final retainage of the DeGan Elementary School Year 20-year refresh project included in the 2017 bond.
Second. Ms. Prosnick, discussion?
Yes, so I just wanted to bring this up because I know, Dr. Rogers, there were some drainage issues, and I see we do have a surplus on this item, and which is great. I just wanted to confirm that that was included, the surplus, in the drainage that we were fixed.
Yes, Ms. Cox, thanks for asking that. Absolutely some extensive work to fix that drainage issue, but that was part of, they were able to cover that cost as part of the retainage. So that's all part of the project, and I double-checked that with Mr. Fight earlier today.
Yeah, so I just wanted to personally thank our facilities department and the construction company for being good stewards and actually getting the work done that needed to be done for a long time at DeGan, and I'm very grateful for the surplus.
Thank you, Ms. Cox. You know, you guys can always expect Ms. Cox to ask if we came in under budget. So thank you for that, Ms. Cox. I mean that sincerely. Are there any other discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Ms. Prosnick.
Yes, I move that the board approve consent agenda item H2A as recommended by administration.
Do I have a second? Ms. Hassett. Discussion?
Yes, I pulled this because as the minutes have been amended, but as originally written, our names are not associated with our votes. And so I would just ask the chair to recount the vote, who voted for, who voted against, so that it can be more clear, more transparent in the minutes. On a side note, I would say that saying aye or nay does not delegate to the public how we voted. I prefer raising my hand. I will continue to do that. But it will need to be reflected in the minutes how each of us voted.
Thank you. I think we agree that we will reflect in the minutes how everybody votes. I think it is up to the chair as to how they call the vote. I plan to call aye or nay, and if there's a nay vote, that'll be highlighted, and it'll be highlighted in the minutes as to how people voted for or against an item if it's not unanimous. As it relates to an action on that this evening, I think going forward is your request. We've remediated the issue in the current board book, and thank you for doing that, Ms. Riggle and Ms. Bay. Are there any other questions? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Information items, Dr. Rapp.
All right, we're first up with the District Improvement Plan update. And so this is the last of the DIP updates for this school year. And I just want to also extend a personal thank you. I know that document, when you all have to look through it at this point, is almost 100 pages. And so with many department leaders and campus staff in the audience tonight, I just want to say thank you to them as well, because much of what you read would not be possible without all of their work. Two special thank yous, though, also go to Dr. Shauna Miller and Dr. Fitzhugh, who round up all of this information from these many great people, because there's no way any of us could answer questions from that many departments all at one time. So a couple of comments about the DIP, and then I'm going to point out something that's on the screen for you. As noted in the item that you had, there are 14 strategies that we completed, and 28 of the strategies we're making progress and need to continue. So we're using that information. This is not about what's on the screen. I'll get to that in a second. We are making progress on drafting the district improvement plan for, obviously, the next school year as well, based on the progress that we made this year. Even in a COVID year, we had over 93% of our parents indicating their child feels safe, staff members care about their child, and their child is glad to come to school. And that was one of the highlights from the formative review that I wanted to point out. Also, you saw in the recognitions, we're proud of our campuses, the targets that we set a couple of years ago on the Common Sense Media recognition. We've made a lot of progress on that goal, and super proud of that. So that what you see on the screen, I wanted to give a quick preview. Thanks again to Dr. Miller and Dr. Fitzhugh's work. but Dr. Miller really going and getting feedback from a variety of different departments and sources. I think we continue to get a little bit more sophisticated in how to bring together the board goals, the superintendent goals, and the DIP goals to help support campuses and seeing how this all flows. So this is actually part of the new template for the campus improvement plan for next school year. So when campuses go to objective 1, they pull this up, they immediately see what the board goals are, and this is student learning, in this objective, the superintendent goals, the DIP goals, and then the campuses determine their strategies that they know reflect those goals. So when you see the campus improvement plans the next school year, you're going to see all of that aligned together, and we're really proud of that work and excited to see how that comes together. So I'll take any questions that you have. I know you've already read it and asked me the questions that you had, but I just want to say thank you for your support this school year, and we're proud of the work that's gotten done.
Any questions? Ms. Cox.
I just want to make a comment to Ms. Fitzhugh and Ms. Miller for the great work. I love seeing the snapshot of this and was so impressed to see the progress that is happening on our campuses, even during the virtual and in-person. I think the district did an outstanding job, and kudos to every single one of you sitting here in this room for the outstanding job that you've done to help our kids grow. So thank you.
Yeah, I would agree. Thank you for this. And for those who don't know, this is major progress for us over the last several years, not just in how we utilize this to make improvements at our campuses or to be consistent, but it does represent a consistent format, which a few years ago we struggled with a little bit. And so thank you for that and the visibility to it, and really proud of the progress relative to how we take action, right? So the things that we do fall within the context of the district improvement plan. The campuses fall within that. There are multiple campus leaders out here, and I'm sure that you realize that some of the pressure you get on this is coming from us because we want to see consistency and uniformity, yet have some customization at the local level for your campuses and what's best. So thank you for your participation in this across the board. That's an information item. The next item is Dr. Rapp as well.
Yes, all right. So part of what's also in the DIP, of course, is our House Bill 3 board goals. So I'm going to ask Dr. Fitzhugh to come on up because this is a great segue from the DIP to her presentation on the House Bill 3 board goals and readiness dashboards.
All right, good evening. This is our last student learning update for this school year. Tonight we are going to talk about our progress on our House Bill 3 goals, and we're also going to loop in some progress on our readiness dashboards. So I'm going to start off with our early childhood reading. So our third grade goal, we wrote a 5-year goal. We're currently in that second year there, 2021. Those are all of our targets. One of the pieces that came up, somebody asked me earlier, if you'll look, our 5-year goal, our target is to close the gaps, and so all of our student groups are supposed to be at the end of 5 year at that 78% mark. That's our way. We have different growth project targets for each student group. So when you look at our reading goals this year, across the board at the district level, we met every single goal that was written for every single student group. This is with 98.9% of our third graders having data. Our target was 77.3% for all students, and we met the target at 86.6%. A difference at this with the end of year data is we factored in progress on IEPs, so that's why you see a change between the middle of year and end of year, because we can't factor that in until the end. In addition, 89% of our virtual students performed on grade level, and 86.1% of the in-person students performed on grade level. So when we look at that at the campus level, 37 of our campuses met their all-student target. One missed by less than 1%, and then one campus missed by more than 10%. When you look at our student group data, 35 campuses met all of their student group data. We have 4 that missed a target for 1 or more of their student groups, and then we have 13 campuses that didn't write a goal for a student group, that they now have 25 students in that group, so they'll need to write a goal in the future. With that in mind, we also have this data in a different way on our dashboard, and it looks at students that made growth, 6 months growth, or were on grade level. And so at the end of year, 94% of our third graders either showed growth or were on grade level with just iStation. This does not have the IEP data in it because EduDisk doesn't pull that in. So our next steps with our third grade reading goal is we need to meet with the campuses and at district level and determine what adjustments need to be made. Part of that involves looking at our second grade data to determine how we need to adjust. And then some campuses are going to have to create some additional goals for some of their student groups. Campuses that are not meeting their goals will have to create a professional development plan specifically to address that piece of their data in their campus improvement plan. And then we will be coming forward in early fall with our updated data and updated goals for the district and campus CIPs and DIP. Early childhood math. So this is a reminder, we piloted iStation Math with a small group of students in 2019-20, and we used that to write our goal. With that being said, this is our first year using a full data set, and we've learned a lot about that. So initially our goal for 2021 was written that all students would meet, 75.2% of all students would meet their target. Where we currently fall is that 64.5% of our students are at Tier 1 or meeting their IEP. This is with 97.7% of third graders completing the iStation test or having data in their IEP regarding. The special education student group was the one student group that met their target. Again, we included that IEP data there. For the fourth 9 weeks, 70% of virtual students versus 63.3% of in-person students when you broke out those additional groups. So the interesting conversation that comes into play here is when you look at how iStation does their scoring. So this chart here, if you look at that first green box, end of year, April, third grade, to be Tier 1, you have to have a 514 or higher scale score. When you come back and look at fourth grade, beginning of year, Tier 1 is a 492. That's a big difference. So it got us thinking about how appropriate is that Tier 1 target when there's that large of an overlap between the different grade levels. So with that in mind, we reran our data with 494 as the target. It's a little bit higher. It's between that August and September, beginning of year fourth grade target. That's on level. When you run our data for third grade at the 494, we now have 78.6% of our students meeting that target. We have a few student groups in there that are not meeting the target, but we have several more that are meeting the target. So then when I look at the individual campus performance, when you look at Tier 1, we had 7 campuses overall meet their target, versus at 494, 24 campuses met their target. Again, we had 10 campuses that missed their target by less than 10% in Tier 1, and we had 10 that missed it by less than 10% at 494. We had 22 that are more than 10% when you look at that Tier 1. We have 5 that are missing it by more than 10% at the 494. So we're in this place of trying to figure out what is the best target that's most predictive of students being ready for the next grade level. So our next steps with that in mind is that we are going to look at considering amending the way that that goal is written. Instead of saying Tier 1, to pick a specific scale score, that was a lot of S's, specific scale score that's more indicative of being on grade level. In order to do that, I'm going to have to pull in a couple of years of data and do some calibrating and regression and all of those fun analytics to determine if that's the best measure. Once we determine that, we will go back and look at the goals and reevaluate, just like we're doing with the reading, make sure that we adjust, write goals for student groups that didn't have goals. Campuses that aren't meeting their goals will write the professional development plan, and we will be back in early fall with all those updated templates as part of the DIP and CIPs. So now we're going to switch to readiness dashboards. So just a reminder, all the board members have access to this via Edudence. Previous analysis for high school readiness has been very limited due to the way that our metrics were selected. So we have been working backwards to determine what does a 9th grader look like when they're ready? What does a 10th grader look like? What's that pathway look like? And so, excitingly, we have built some of those criteria into the dashboards, they're effective right now. So all of the top ones on each column are the same. The asterisks are the new ones. So 9th graders, we're looking at if they're enrolled in honors courses versus it being an AP course. We're looking at prior year PSAT, Algebra 1, Geometry. Not many 9th graders have completed Algebra 2. In 10th grade, we've added that honors piece, that PSAT 10, and then Geometry. And so your dashboards, when you go to it, will look a little bit different. You can zoom in on your screen when you customize it to get to the level of size that you like. When I take a screenshot just of the overall readiness, you can see already that now our students, 87% of our students were overall ready because we built in those new metrics that accommodate for 9th and 10th grade. Before that looked more like, I think it was like in the 60s. This is your college ready dashboard. Again, it has all of those new metrics. You can see the Algebra 1 there on the bottom, the Geometry and the PSAT. That's tracking how many of our students have successfully completed Algebra 1, Geometry, and then met PSAT criteria. This screen here I filtered for 12th grade because that's when we ask students to complete standardized assessments for college readiness. And what you can see here is we've pulled in TSI, ACT, SAT, and then those college prep courses. Right now we have a lot of students taking SAT. For the first time this spring, we offered ACT during the school day. When we get that data in, I think some of these charts will change a little bit more. So for the dashboard for career readiness, we worked it back to look at how many courses should you have completed to be exploring a career and to be ready. We also have built in the co- or extracurricular courses. If they're linked to if the course is linked to a co- or extracurricular activity, then it's pulling that data in as well now. And so this is what the updated looks like, your dashboard looks like. So you can see attendance, discipline, that 4-year plan on file are all filled out. Your community service and your workplace graphs, we currently aren't gathering that data, but the dashboard's ready once we have a way to gather that data. Extracurriculars are pulling in, certifications, so all of those pieces are now pulling in correctly. So our next steps with CCMR, there is a House Bill 3 goal linked to it, but we need to get AP, SAT, and ACT data before I can calculate our progress on those goals. We will again determine any adjustments that need to be made, and then we're going to update the CIP and the DIPs. This is some bonus data, because everybody likes a bonus when it comes to data. So part of your dashboard also contains grade information. So for middle school, because we don't have a House Bill 3 goal linked to it, we just wanted to provide some additional information. So what you can see here is that 95% of our students had a C or higher in all their core classes. That broke down to 98% in all subjects areas of kids having a C and ELA separately, but when you aggregate them, it drops to 95. High school, you have to do a little math to get these numbers, but there's another screen I'll show you. But 93.1% of our students had a C or higher in ELA, 90.9 in math, 93.2 in science, and 95.4 in social studies. And so this is what your dashboard looks like when you look at those data pieces. This is the district with all grade levels combined together, so you have to pull out the high school to get to it. We'll also have this view that shows ELA by grade level, math by grade level. All of this is in your dashboard. So our summary for our next steps is that we are going to evaluate and set targets for our 3rd grade math goal because we need to revisit that. We're going to compile our data for CCMR for House Bill 3 to see where we are with that goal. We are going to revisit our math and reading goals to make sure that we're updated and bring that forward in the fall for your approval when it comes to those House Bill 3 targets. Professional development plans are being developed. We're going to present it in the fall. And We will provide campus level data in the near future. And with that, are there any questions?
I was going to see which one would raise their hand first, so it's Ms. Prosnick.
I really appreciate the work. As you know, I really appreciate you working backwards. I would, of course, I'm the strange one. I would like a middle school goal because I think that's really important. I am going to ask about the number 2 bullet, SAT and AP scores. Are we looking at all of our dual credit grades? Our students, for example, that are taking dual credit, which are college level courses, which are weighted the same way as AP, et cetera?
So that's part of that House Bill 3 goal for readiness. I just already have that data. I don't have these data sources, so this is what I'm waiting on.
And honors courses are what we are now calling, what used to be called our pre-AP courses. I'm just putting that up for educational purposes.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, I think Christy jumped.
Oh, okay, sorry.
You go ahead first. It may be shorter.
All right. So are we going to have a list of the campuses and how they did? I mean, I can kind of see it sort of on the dashboard, but not, the list out of how they did on the House Bill 3 goal. I mean, do you want us to look on the dashboard to try to find it, or do you have a list somewhere?
The dashboard is aligned specifically with House Bill 3, so I'm going to be sending you the campus level data.
That's kind of what I thought. I was just checking, but
Gotcha.
you are going to send that to us.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you, Dr. Fitzhugh.
Ms. Hassett.
Thank you for your presentation. Okay, I love the professional development that's going to be included in the CIP. What type of tie-in is it going to have with the DIP for administration's responsibility back to the campuses when that happens? Because I'm assuming this is the CIP, the campuses need to come up with the professional development for their campus. How is that going to tie into y'all's responsibility to the campuses?
So one of the things, I'll use the math goal as an example. So Ms. Gall, Ms. Ferguson, myself, been discussing the math data that's coming in, what that means for the math goal for the DIP. Will then, as we're crafting that goal, that'll become part of what the campuses can see on the template, that's a DIP goal. So we'll have to do some adjustment there because we've already had to share their template with them so they could begin to work on their template. But that's where you will see that DIP belongs in this area underneath their student learning goals, and then you'll be able to see their professional development that they've had to add for their specific data that they're seeing.
Okay. I might have additional questions later after I digest that. Okay, now I have questions about Tier 1, Tier 2. Is the Tier 1, Tier 2 issue, does it also happen in reading? Is there a Tier 1 and Tier 2 in reading?
So there are Tier 1 and Tier 2 in reading. And initially when we started with iStation Reading, we had a similar issue where the bands, but the more that iStation Reading has been used throughout the state, they've gotten their data a little more aligned is what I'll say. They've recalibrated, renormed several times, and so we found that it's worked its way out. Right now, just because this is new for us and we're learning it, we're having to kind of pick our target. We did this with iStation initially too. We picked a target that was a little bit different than Tier 1 based on some data that we ran, and so we're just in that same process here with math. I do think eventually as iStation Math is used more frequently, that some of this will sort itself out when they have a larger set of data.
Okay. Is the Tier 2 issue also potentially summer learning loss that might be happening in the next grade level?
It could be some of that. It's a pretty big summer learning loss, but it's something we will keep our eye on it.
And if iStation keeps tweaking, we will reevaluate. We won't hold it steady. So you're suggesting right now to have, what is the where does it lie in the Tier 1, Tier 2?
So 494 is what we're suggesting, which would be a part of Tier 2. Some kids in Tier 2, not all of kids in Tier 2. Just some of Tier 2 would be counted as meeting the goal. Now, that target, I need to do a little bit more data around and see what % of kids are successful where, because we might need to move it. Maybe 500 is the appropriate target versus. So that was just a starting spot based on the way we were seeing that overlap.
Okay, so would you say that again in English slower? So for the 500, for the new mark, you are going to go back and look at where those students are ending up later to make sure that it's not that we're hitting a goal, but we're evaluating the correct target for the goal.
Yes, so we will run it against a couple of different pieces of data to see on this measure, are students successful? And they're successful here, and they're not successful here. So we'll triangulate, is probably the best way to say it, to see at what point do we have a good confidence interval that if a student is performing at this level, that it's indicative of they will be successful.
Okay.
Does
And
that
is
help?
this, absolutely. Is this going to be for the on grade level or the 6 months progress?
It'll be for on grade level. We
On grade
currently
level.
don't have a 6 month progress set up for iStation math.
Okay. Are we going to do that?
We haven't discussed it because math is a little different than reading, and so I would need to get with my friends that are the experts in learning and teaching to figure out what progress is appropriate.
On grade level. Okay. I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hassett. Dr. Fitzhugh, thank you. So this topic, instructional outcomes, is going to be a key focus for us in Team of 8 training this year. When you go back to 2017, Senate Bill 1566, and we're looking to bring someone in to help us focus on instructional outcomes. That doesn't mean that the social emotional issues and all the other things are not important. In fact, they're critical. As Dr. Rapp has said, if kids are hungry, tired, sick, scared, or don't come to school, we can't educate them. And so it's all part of a system. I was going to mention the 6 months of progress. That was an important part of the third grade being on target, or 6 months of progress with English. So I would agree that it would be interesting, and I saw Adrienne smile back there, so I'm sure that you'll be consulting with her. It's important that we don't just send a message that you have to be at a certain level that is still a bit in process, but that campuses are showing progress. And I think that's what your intent is here, and I appreciate the holistic view here. What you haven't heard us talk about is, or you talk about, is STAR, or even looking at the dashboard and STAR results. And one of the reasons we will not use the service center for Team of 8 is because they would tend to lean in towards some of the attributes of student outcomes that the state would deem more important than iStation outcomes or on grade level at third grade, et cetera. So I'm sure you'll hear more about that and have a chance to contribute to that discussion. But thank you for this. And is there any other?
I had one other thing. You were talking about the workforce. Can you go back to that slide where you were talking about those that you were going to? And I just was...
This one? Or this one right here?
Going back.
The workplace
Yes,
and
community service and workplace. So all those other things, we control the data and the collection of that.
We have systems. We have systems.
Yes, we
to
have
collect
systems.
That data right
Yes.
now.
Thank you for. Yes.
Sorry, just
you know that language. The community service in the workplace. How will we make sure that those are statistically valid and that our statistical error in what we report is correct? I mean,
so that's the $1 million question that we're working on. It's also the reason that extracurricular isn't completely fleshed out yet, because it's only linked to courses, and we know that we have way more experiences beyond courses that are extra and co-curricular. So we're working to build systems. Just COVID happened, and so we didn't really have as much community service happening, so I kind of let that go and worked on building the dashboard backwards. And so that's something we're going to come back and revisit, is what is a good system for allowing students to report community service, and how do we validate that it happened? What's a good system for what is a workplace experience? How do we count it? What does it look like? So we just need to build some of those.
And I think that that's important, and I think it's important that we do get it right, because it's more of our universities are going to more of a holistic approach and maybe not even looking at SAT and ACT. I mean, I was answering questions today as an Aggie mom about, as a student going in last year, about that process and how that's changing this year. And truly, when you think you know how our kids are being accepted into colleges, just open the door and throw it right out, because it doesn't follow an equation. And so I think that having those on there just so that we can follow, because some of our students, we know they may not be our best students, but they work and they are community engaged and they're getting into some of the top schools. And so I think that's important, that we also show that that's important to us, that for those kids that are taking part in those things. So thank you.
Since Mr. Miller brought it up too, can I ask again really quick about the math third grade progress? I get that ELAR is more linear, than math is in terms of showing progress in a year. I'm guessing that third grade math is a little bit more difficult because it isn't as linear. I don't know the word that I'm really trying to use. In terms of the concepts there, is that more of the issue with the third grade math? Okay. Or the data we're asking it to, we don't know if it can. Right. Yep. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Fitzhugh, thank you very much. Mrs. Smith.
Yes, as you all are aware, in 2017, the board approved Panorama Education for us to contract with for an employee engagement survey. This is the 4th year that we have given that survey, and I might add this year we gave that survey in the middle of the COVID pandemic. Dr. Courtney Hart has, for the 4 years, really overseen and led the management of the employee survey, and I just want to say thank you to her for her leadership in this area and for her educating me about the history of the survey as well as her oversight. And so at this time, Dr. Hart is going to come forward and walk you through our survey results for this year.
Evening. You don't have an item? Well, I can certainly come find it and all right. I can come pull it up on Google on his screen if you'd like me to pop over there.
I'll tell you what, while we're doing that, Dr. Hart, why don't we jump ahead to item J and let Mr. Youngs, if that's all right, if that confuses the presentations, I don't know. But if you're okay with it, Mr. Youngs, would you mind going now?
That'd be exciting.
I'm sure it would, and we're excited too, so let us have it.
The monthly financial report starts on page 356. I'll call your attention to page 357, second column from the right. The general fund through April, this is 8 months of our fiscal year, and I mentioned this to the board in the past that our revenues aren't coming in as quickly as we had budgeted. So through the end of April, we've got $478 million. We're ahead of last year. We were $460 a year ago, but budget is calling for $530 by the end of the year, and we don't think we're going to get there. Now, interestingly enough, this evening I talked to Mr. Fickus from Linebarger, who was here, and talked to you about some real estate issues. I mentioned this to him, and he thinks that the issue is in business personal property, which is furniture, fixtures, and equipment.
he's pretty confident those monies will flow into the district by the end of the fiscal year in August. So he's optimistic. I'm a little bit less so. So the general fund had revenue through April of 478. We spent 321, which is not much more than last year. We spent 317 last year. We have a surplus of 157 million. We're in the part of the year when we start spending our fund balance down, and we will through the remainder of the summer. So we have a strong surplus in the general fund. Child nutrition, through the end of April, we've got revenue of about 15 million, expenditures of 12, net of about 3 million, and this is in a year when we had a lot fewer students on campus. So the food service fund and the food service folks, Aramark, are moving staff around to the campuses where the people are, and they're trying to be as efficient as they can, and it is showing in their performance. Debt service fund, we haven't made the August payment yet, of course. We'll make that August payment, so we have a surplus there of 136 million. We were 131 here a year ago. And then on page 364 is the investment report. You can see our cash portfolio is just under 900 million. We had 820 a year ago, so our cash balances are higher than a year ago. Yield to maturity for our portfolio is 7, almost 0.08%. So we're earning barely above zero. Interestingly enough, there's a feeding frenzy going on in the bond market right now. There are more dollars looking for more deals than there are deals. And that's driving prices up and interest rates down. Right now would be a great time to have a bond issue and take it to market. It's just an amazing time right now. So we have no refundings on the horizon this year, maybe next, but right now the bond market is incredibly busy with demand and not as much supply. So our yield on our cash is very modest, but it does exceed the yield on the 180-day Treasury bill, which is the intent and our goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Youngs. Any questions? Okay. Dr. Hart, are you ready? Come on up.
All right, we have information now. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Panorama Employee Engagement Survey. This was our 4th year giving the Panorama Survey, and we have 3 groups of employees that we give different surveys to, just slightly different, and it's based on their job type. So we have the district group of employees, so that's people who are coded to a department instead of to a campus. So a lot of the folks in this room, this is the district office group, right? Then we also have campus instructional staff, so that's going to be classroom teachers and instructional aides. So basically those questions are aimed at people who are standing in front of groups of students all day long, right? And then our last group of employees is campus non-instructional. So that's everyone else on a campus, right? That's your attendance clerk, the nurse, counselors, assistant principals. So those are our 3 groups of employees. We start planning for the Panorama Survey around mid-November, and that gets us ready to give the survey right when people come back from winter break. We closed the survey this year on January 15th, and then on March 24th, we shared those results with our campus principals and with our department leaders. We asked those leaders, campus and department leaders, to share that survey information with all of their staff members by May 15th of this year, May 14th of this year. So our Panorama results are a tool to learn about perceptions. So what is our staff thinking and feeling? That's what it helps us to learn. It's a starting point, a jumping off point for further conversations. So what our Panorama results are not are an evaluative tool for supervisors or a definitive answer, right? It's just a jumping off point, a place for us to start learning. So let's look a little bit deeper at those survey results. Panorama gives us information based on favorable responses. So if they ask a question on most days, how enthusiastic are the students about being at school? You have 5 answer choices there. And if you choose one of the top 2 answer choices, that's considered a favorable response, right? So if they said extremely enthusiastic or quite enthusiastic, that's going to be considered a favorable response. So if they chose somewhat enthusiastic or slightly or not at all, that doesn't count towards a favorable response. So same thing on this question. When new initiatives to improve teaching are presented at your school, how supportive are your colleagues? You have to choose either extremely supportive or quite supportive for it to count in that favorable category. So let's look at that with some Lewisville ISD responses. When our staff were given these questions, you can see how they responded. On most days, how enthusiastic are the students about being at school? We had a 59% favorable response here. So 11% of our staff said extremely enthusiastic, and 48% said quite enthusiastic. So that's how we're getting that 59%. You can see 30% of our staff said somewhat enthusiastic, and that doesn't count in that favorable response. Same thing for question 2. When new initiatives to improve teaching are presented at your school, how supportive are your colleagues? We had a 66% favorable rating here. That's up 5% from last year, and that's coming from 16% of staff saying extremely and 50% of staff saying quite supportive. So let's look at those responses. So this is our largest group, right? Campus instructional staff. 3,465 staff members responded to our survey this year. That's an 81.4% response rate. That is up 2% from last year. So we have 4 sets of questions that we asked these staff members. We asked them about school leadership and school climate. We ask those questions every year. That's a continuing set of questions. We also asked them a question set called Educating All Students. The questions in that question set, they align with our cultural proficiency goals. And this year we added a new question set called Well-Being, and that was a direct response to the pandemic. So you can see on the right, it tells you, hey, what was our change since we took these question sets in January of 2020? So you can see in Educating All Students, we had 82% favorable responses. That's down 2% from January 2020. For school leadership, we're at 74% favorable, and that's up 6% from a year ago. We're up 2% from a year ago in school climate. And in well-being, you'll notice there's no comparison there because that's a new question set. So we don't have our comparison to last year. If you look, there's a place where it tells us how we compare to other schools nationally who take these same question sets. And you can see that in the Educating All Students question set, we're at the 60th to 79th percentile nationally. We actually have, in past years, been able to see where we stand in terms of, national percentile with that school leadership and that school climate question set. However, we don't this year, and the reason is there are several questions in those question sets that are very specific to, let me give you an example. Under leadership, there's one that says, when decisions are made at your campus, when school leaders make decisions, how much do you feel like your opinion is taken into consideration? Well, this year, no one's opinion was taken into consideration. Not our principals, not Dr. Rogers. We were making a lot of decisions based on what medical leaders were telling us and the governor and TEA. And so we didn't have a lot of autonomy, and so that question was not as relevant this year. So there were several questions that we removed just because it was really important to us to be super relevant, especially since we're adding a new question set, and we were very wary of survey fatigue. We didn't want our teachers to feel overburdened by numbers of questions, if that makes sense. Then we have the campus non-instructional staff responses. You can see there's only 600 responses in this group, and that's because it's a much smaller group. At some of our elementary schools, this is only 5 staff members. As you might imagine, the great majority of our staff are actually in those classrooms, so they're in that last group. So this is an 84.5% response rate. That's up 1% from last year. You can see they were also asked questions about school leadership and school climate. They're asked those questions every year. That's why you can see that change from last year. So in school leadership, we're up 4% from last year. And in school climate, we have no change. We do have a new question set with this group called cultural proficiency. Now, in the last group, so the campus instructional, we have that question set called Educating All Students, right? And it aligns with our cultural proficiency goals. We really love those questions. We think they're well written. We think they're strong. but they are specifically aimed at if you are standing in front of a group of students all day long. So when I'm asked those questions, they're not really relevant for me because I'm not standing in front of students. So what we did this year is we went to Dr. Shauna Miller and we said, can you help us edit these questions and make them relevant for our other staff who might not be in the classroom all day, every day? And she helped us edit those, and so we've added this section called Cultural Proficiency for this group. We also added the Well-Being Survey for this group. And then for our district office staff, you can see we have 1,006 responses, which is an 82.9% response rate. We're down 5% in this group. So district leadership for this group is up 5%, and office climate is up 1%. And then you can see we have those well-being question sets, which are also new this year, and our cultural proficiency question set, which is also new this year for this group. So those are our overarching questions that were asked. And then we have 3 open response questions that we asked all staff members. And these questions were the same, but with small differences just to help it be aimed correctly at that right group of employees. So for example, that first question, for district office staff, it was worded, how can your supervisor help you better learn about, discuss, and confront issues related to diversity, equity, and inclusion? When we asked that question to campus staff members, we said, how can your school leaders help you better learn about, discuss, and confront issues related to diversity, equity, and inclusion? We also asked everyone at your campus or in your department, what is the one thing of which you're most proud? And we also asked, what is one change with discipline and behavior management strategies that you would like to see implemented at your school or at campuses in our district? So those were our 3 open response questions. So let's take just a little bit of a deeper dive in to some of those results. With the campus instructional staff, I don't know about you, but my eye always goes to where did we go down? I just want to take a look at it. I just want to dive into it a little bit. So let's look at that educating all students group. Or we'll just think about it for a second. Robert, can you advance that for me? Thank you. So these are the questions asked of the Educating All Students group. And could you advance it one more time? Yep. So I just wanted to take a look at one in particular. Ooh, that is small on that screen, isn't it? In response to events that might be happening. Oh, Christy Hassett, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So you can see that's down 5% from last year. And so I just wanted to look a little bit at the answer distribution on this. And then I don't know about you, but where my brain went was I would like to see what that answer distribution looks like compared to last year. So if we look at that question, in response to events that might be occurring in the world, how comfortable would you be having conversations about race with your students? When we asked this question in January of 2020, 28% of our staff said extremely comfortable. When we asked that same question in January of 2021, 24% of our staff said extremely comfortable. So we just went down 4% in that top area. If you look at quite comfortable, it went from 46% down to 45% across the period of 1 year. And then if you look at that somewhat comfortable, that went up from 20% to 23%. So we don't have wild variation within these areas. It's just a slight change. Like we talked about earlier, this is not an answer to a question. It just allows us to look more carefully at something. So for this, a question that comes into my mind is, I wonder if teachers maybe had more questions asked of them. So whereas they felt really comfortable with the 2 or 3 strategies they had in their tool belt ready to pull out, when more questions came out, they went, you know, I could use an extra strategy or 2. So I might have gone down from quite comfortable to somewhat comfortable. And so then our question for school leaders becomes, what can I do to help a teacher move from somewhat comfortable back up to quite comfortable? Does that make sense? So it's just a jumping off point for additional questions. We look back at campus instructional staff. Another area I was really interested in this year is the well-being, just because this is our first year to ask that. So these are the questions we asked about well-being, and there's a few things that jumped out at me. One is this very high number how much does your work matter to you? 98% responded favorably. That's a very, very high rating. That is very high. And that's contrasted with 16% favorable when we asked, during the past week, how often do you feel exhausted at work? That's very extreme. So I felt like that was just a good picture of kind of what our teachers have been going through this year. It's been a really tough roller coaster of a year. Also, an area that I was interested in this year was school leadership, and the reason for that is it took an increase in all three of the employee groups. So if we look at this here with the campus instructional staff, you can see it's 74% favorable. We have a 6% increase. And these are the questions we asked that group. And these are actually the same questions across all three groups. The wording is just edited slightly to make a little bit more sense for the different employee groups. So you can kind of see where the distribution is on where the increases are. And then if we look at school leadership and campus non-instructional staff responses, that's a 4% increase. And you can see the increases are just a little bit different. They appear in different places, which I find a little bit interesting. So instructional staff had increases on some questions, non-instructional staff had increases on other questions. And then if you look at the district office staff, they also had an increase in leadership of 5%. And once again, we see those increases on questions, but they come in different places. Something else that was new this year that we were really excited about is we were able to give our campus and our department leaders information on favorable responses for the question sets with different groups of employees. So if you look up here, what we're looking at is the school climate question set for our campus instructional staff. So this is actually giving us a breakout by employees with LISD years of service. So if you look at this, you can see that employees with 0 to 2 years of service responded 70% favorably to questions about school climate. But employees with 3 to 5 years of service responded 66% favorably. That's interesting. And then if you look at it with 6 to 10 years, it goes back up. And if you get to 16 plus, it goes up a little bit more. This is one of those things that there's a lot of things that you just look at and go, huh, that's interesting. But what's really exciting is that we're giving our campus and our department leaders the ability to look at this with all of the different question sets and with all of these different things. So they could look at it by employee age, they could look at it by gender. So it gives them the opportunity to learn where there might be additional questions they might need to ask. So that's what we have for this year.
Any questions? Ms. Cox?
I always love these surveys, and I just want to say it was really nice to see that "Do you have a best friend?" was not up there. Yes. So, inside joke. But I really do like the questions that were asked this year, and in a trying year, I think the responses were very positive, so I'm very encouraged for that. But could you walk me through what that looks like after the surveys are done? How are they presented to the campus principal? And then how, I presume these are anonymous, correct?
Yes, ma'am, they are.
Yeah, so then how does the campus leader, the principal, have these discussions to make improvements on their campus? Or, the leadership team to make improvements? Or obviously we're having some, trouble area of this. How do we make improvements? How does that happen?
Certainly. So the way we shared this information this year, we have separate groups. So first it was shared with principals, and the way we did that was the chiefs of schools and also Dr. Shauna Miller. They worked together for a long time to get ready to share this information with staff because, as you might imagine, some of these questions, they're a little stressful. If you're a campus leader, it really, really matters deeply to you. So they spent a long time getting ready to kind of talk about context and how we can look at this and what can you learn, what questions can you come up with as you look at this information. So first they shared it with campus principals, and then they talked about the different ways to look at the data. And also we spend a lot of time learning how to use the platform to make sure that we can really dig into it and use it for everything that it gives us. And then after that, what we asked the campus principals and then department leaders, I have a separate meeting with them where we walk them through all that information, but it just looks and it feels a little bit different from a department perspective, and so that's why we really feel the need to do those separately. Just, on a campus just feels different than in an office. Then we asked both campus leaders and department leaders to share the PDF format. So what you have there is what is shared with their campus. We asked them to have a meeting and email that document to everyone so that everyone can see it, and then have a conversation about what are some things that we can talk about from this. Once again, we really, really don't like using panorama data to say, well, I see there's a problem with this, so we're going to talk about this, and now our goal is I want everyone happier on Tuesdays, and so Jean's on Tuesdays, and boom, done. We really want it to be a deeper conversation, something that gives them the opportunity to maybe have a deeper understanding of people's thoughts and feelings. Does that help? Did I capture that? Okay.
Ms. Hassett.
I am very excited for our students by the responses that were given this year. I mean, students had a rough year, teachers had a rough year, administrators had a rough year, and leadership matters and leadership trickles down. And so I'm very, very excited for our students that staff felt by and large supported, and I'm sure that the students also felt that. So I just wanted to show my appreciation to staff for doing a wonderful job in a really crappy year. So thank you.
Ms. Sells?
I'll just say that I'm very encouraged by the numbers. I really almost didn't dread, but would have been not surprised had numbers been really down. And I don't ever want to go through another COVID. Wish we'd never gone through this one before. But I think some of these numbers can really tell you a story, and important ones, on that leadership and that leadership cares. Is I think that during COVID, we've realized that the relationships matter. I think we all, and not just in education, but across the board, we get so task-oriented and so focused on specific things that we forget to stop and breathe and ask, how are you today? And so I think, if anything, that maybe we will keep from COVID, it's that we continue to build those relationships and continue to reach out and to continue to show the great leadership that we really do have here in LISD. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sells. Dr. Hart, thank you. This is the 8th time I've seen a presentation like this. Once was before I was elected. I went to a work session, and remember we used to have Dr. Darby come in, and what was that company that we used back then? Before Panorama?
Gallup.
This was a great presentation, Courtney, and good cadence. Love the content. For me, this is the taxonomy behind survey programs is really important. And I think while this is about employee experience, it feeds into what I was talking about earlier in our priorities this year as it relates to instructional outcomes. Because employee experience, and this is what Qualtrics would tell you, and Panorama, ultimately leads to customer experience. And in this case, the confluence of actionable insights that come from social media listening tools, surveys, whatever, and how these issues get addressed are critical. And I think one thing that would be helpful at some point is for us to hear how those that have the guts to get up at campuses are going to make some changes based on the insights that they get from this. So I think you articulated the process that you go through and how that information gets distributed. I think we're better, if not great, against some historical concerns around how does this information get used, or my campus leader said that we got terrible surveys, and there's been an overreaction to that, and COVID, maybe there's some suppression. The other thing is, I think exploring more about cohorts, right? So how we perform on a number in employee experience is based on the questions that the cohorts ask. If they're different questions, then a score in comparison doesn't matter. And I'll use one that you used, and it would be curious later to find out. But this is the one thing that sometimes we don't want to talk about, and it's the discussion, the gap that you saw in comfort levels around race discussions. I think that we would all agree, everybody, that we're having a hard time in these discussions, and we're trying to get better on all sides of this. And so to see that at only move 5%, I'm actually surprised, probably like you, that it didn't go down more in this year. Now, that said, 69% means almost a third of our teachers, are not maybe as comfortable as they could be. And so those are actionable things that would be interesting to see how we're going to address it. And I know you guys are going to do some things at Thrive, and you're going to do some things around some legislative issues and that type of thing. So not necessarily looking for you to go into a lot of detail on that, but I think these are things, Dr. Rapp and Dr. Rogers, that as we look at this year and we look at how we, and the next item, which I know is the most important item of the night for almost everybody in the room, is a component of that, but it's not just that, because even most people, their job is important to them. But a lot of people, it's not the money they make, although it's important, but it's not the key factor, right? And so just how we're going to take action and make improvements within the DIP and CIP based on this information, because now we've got 2 months, right, till we start affecting changes when the campuses get back and do in service. I mean, that's less than 2 months from now, because school actually starts, August 11th? So it's not a lot of time, and it just seems like, maybe there's some discussion or dialogue or things you guys might want to share as it relates to how you're affecting some changes based on this. Did you want to say something, Dr. Roger? Or
Yeah, well, I was just going to add a little bit tongue-in-cheek that there's no doubt that this survey is anonymous, because if it wasn't, the question about work matters to me, the 4 that said not at all, I'd track them down. So,
fair point. Any other questions? Dr. Hart, thank you very much for this. Appreciate it. Okay, just as a note, it's 9:42. We have 6 items left, and one of those items has 6 components, and I know it's one of the most popular items, so just want to make note of it. We did have a discussion about this during the week, last Monday, and so we've had a bit of a dialogue around this. I guess, Dr. Rogers, you're going to take it from here?
Yes, sir. So I appreciate the great discussion we had last Wednesday, and the majority of the discussion was about the compensation package, and so we actually have it broken down into different motions to where it could allow a little different discussion if warranted. And so the first one is a motion regarding the percentage of salary increase at the midpoint, and our recommendation after discussion of the board last Wednesday is for a 3% salary increase on the midpoint.
Okay, before we make a motion on these items, I'd like to just open it up for discussion and see if there's any dialogue before we kind of finalize on a number and take action on it. Does anybody have any comments they'd like to make about the recommendation from staff? With that said, then I'll take a motion. Ms. Cox.
I move that the board approve a 3% salary increase on the midpoint of the respective pay grade for all eligible employees as recommended by administration.
Second. Ms. Hassett. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Mr.
That's the big news I know you guys all want to take back to your campuses, so I bet everybody's typing that's a campus leader out there. So next item, Dr. Rogers.
Yes, Mr. Miller, there was another discussion regarding a retention payment, and there was a lot of discussion back and forth, great discussion, and so the recommendation, I know y'all sort of left it up or wanted me to make a recommendation, is with a 3%, which I'm just very grateful for, and I know staff will be, to provide a one-time retention payment, and you can see in the structure of the amendment, how that would be implemented is what we administration recommends.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers. Any discussion before we make a motion? Okay, do I have a motion? Ms. Sells?
I move that the board approve a retention payment in the amount of $500 for all full-time staff and prorated for all part-time staff employed on or before September 1st, 2021, and are currently employed at the time of payment to be paid no later than November 30th, 2021, as recommended by administration.
I have a second. Has it? Any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Now you can send your emails, and I hope that the message that the board sends on those two items, because those are the big items for most people, is an appreciation. I'm just speaking on behalf of the board and the vote. As if you've been tracking the conversations we've had, this is generous, and I'm not saying that to be flippant. It is generous relative to our peers and our nears. And so I hope that what is taken from that is that the board recognizes not just that this year was a tough year, which it was, but that we appreciate the work that's done to get us to the performance that we have in our schools and taking care of the students and families. So thank you for that. Next item, Dr. Rogers.
Yes, sir, Mr. Miller, and really the next two items are just adjustments to different pay groups or groups of people. And so the first one is about trying to converge three different instructional support pay groups, IS 32, 33, and 34, to where the minimum hourly rate for all three of those, which will become one, is $15 per hour, as we discussed last Wednesday.
Ms. Cox?
I do have a question about this. I'm very much in support and going to be very supportive of this and glad that we're doing this. But can you just explain, Sheila, again, what you were explaining? Those that, I think it was the 34, whichever one that was already at the 15, how does that work again? Because they weren't going to lose out. I was a little confused.
So by setting the minimum pay rate at $15 an hour for those three groups, all of our current employees are making, if they're in pay grade 34, they're making over the minimum now, because $15 an hour is currently the minimum pay rate at pay grade 34. So all of the employees that we have in pay grade 34 will see that 3% increase that you all just approved, and none of them will be at 15. But the minimum pay rate for our new pay structure would be $15 an hour.
Okay, so then if this is approved, then the other employees won't be bumped up to 15, and then the 3% on top of that?
Yes, ma'am. If they're in
So
pay
they
grade 32 and 33, which are currently at like 12 something and 13 something an hour, they're going to be getting an equity adjustment that takes them up to the 15, actually a little more than the $15 an hour, because $15 an hour will be the new minimum for a person with 0 years of experience.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Did you have a motion? Ms. Hassett?
I move that the board approve an adjustment to the instructional support pay grades 32, 33, and 34, raising the minimum hourly rate to $15 per hour as recommended by administration.
Second. Ms. Sells? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you for the continued focus on this. I know this has been a passion for some board members, even back to when Brenda Latham was on the board. We've been trying to improve this and get better at it. And so, Ms. Smith, thank you for bringing these recommendations forward, and look forward to you implementing this. Next item, Dr. Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. This is also looking at a group of staff, and this is particularly teachers in pay in the 10 to 15 years experience, and so by adjusting those pay bands. You have to affect years 16 through 19. If you remember looking at the table of after you give a 3%, these were the only two groups that still weren't quite to 100% market value, and so that's why that's what we discussed last Wednesday, and so that's our recommendation.
Dr. Bonner, we did this once before. Do you remember the year that it would have been before Miss time, but this is the second time we've done this in the last 4 or 5 years?
I do not remember the year, Mr. Miller. I'm so sorry.
Okay. But you remember us doing it, because I think you...
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make it. I move that the board approve a market adjustment for teachers in the 6 to 19 years of experience pay bands, bringing all teacher salaries to at least 100% of the market as recommended by administration.
Second. Ms. Hassett. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Dr. Rogers.
Mr. Miller, Board, the next item was discussion regarding our difficulty in finding BIC teachers, those that lead our behavior units at our campuses, and so there was some discussion about offering a stipend for signing up as a BIC teacher. I would just ask that the motion be made to state a $3,000 incentive stipend instead of signing stipend, because we want to be clear, this is not just for new BIC teachers, but for all BIC teachers because of the difficulty, really the hard to fill nature of their job, at least at this point in time. And so with that, we would recommend that incentive stipend.
Okay, with that, I think Ms. Broderick's going to make the motion, but we had modified that a little bit. But go ahead and you can pick whichever option. Did you discussion?
Yeah, I want to add something just real quickly. I appreciate Dr. Rogers clarifying that it's not a signing, it's for all BIC teachers as an incentive to come here or stay here. And that's over and above and in addition to the special ed stipend they receive.
Yes, sir, Dr. Bonner, that's correct. I believe that we said they already received, was it $2,500 for a stipend, and so that would be $3,000 more than their current stipend.
Yeah, just want to make sure that was communicated. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bonner. Ms. Hassett.
I also had a question. Did we need to put language in here about the breaking up of it?
I don't think we do. I mean, that would
Okay.
be something, but certainly our plan, and we'll be clear to the audience, our plan is to break that $3,000 stipend into different segments. We're not going to pay it all up front. And so that will be worked out by HR.
Okay, thank you for the clarifications. Ms. Broderick, do you want to make a motion?
I move that the board approve a $3,000 incentive stipend for all BIC teachers who serve in hard-to-fill positions as recommended by administration.
Ms. Lasan, a second. Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. One more.
And last but not least, the sort of where you start with teachers is we have to announce our first-year teacher salary. And so as we discussed last Wednesday with the 3% raise at the midpoint, that puts first-year teacher salary at $56,925, and that's our recommendation.
I move that the board approve a first-year teacher salary of $56,925 as recommended by administration.
Second. I'm going to give that one to Dr. Bonner. It's his first one. But that's at 9:55. Dr. Bonner made his first second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Let me just say this, and I'm not going to try and be verbose on this. If you follow what we've done, outside of the 2% that was presented to us in a budget. We just plan to spend some of our savings on our staff. I think it's really important that we just keep reiterating that. That's what we think about our staff. And I hope that's what, I know, I'm looking out at the principals that are here, and I know you're all going to send that message, and other staff, and our attorney, administrative staff. And so thank you, board. We're looking forward to a good 2021, 2022, and, trying to do some catch up on learning, as well as, outperform our peers and nears in a number of areas and continue to provide leadership. So thank you. With that said, Dr. Rapp, approval of TX VSN course review waiver.
All right, well, it's hard to follow all of that exciting thing about pay, but just really quickly, these regularly come before you from Dr. Bigenho. I would definitely echo Sean Sheehan's comments of thanks to the great Dr. Bigenho for his representation of LISD and virtual learning. What a great job he's done this school year. So this waiver is specific to Spanish 1, Spanish 2, and ProfCom as they are developing those courses, and any new courses that we would develop based on our expanded VLA catalog that you all talked about this evening. Some of the last waivers you all have approved were in the areas of creative writing and personal financial literacy. So your approval allows us to move forward with the development of these courses. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? Ms. Hassett?
I move that the board approve the request for a 3-year Texas VSN course review waiver for the recommended eligible courses as presented by administration.
Second. Ms. Sells? Any discussion? Ms. Hassett, Dr. Bigenho, you carried the weight of this. I was going to say yeoman's. I don't even think you can say that anymore. But Ms. Hassett, thank you also for going down. I know that we were exchanging messages while you were down there, and thank you for testifying and working on our behalf, and really for the state, the benefit of the state. So thank you for that.
Dr. McDaniel.
Okay, and thank you. All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Mrs. Smith.
Yes, as you are aware, each year for the past several years, we've come to the board asking for you to consider granting the superintendent the authority to hire during the time from this board meeting to our August board meeting. As you are aware, if you remember in December, you, through a recommendation and through the recommendation of the governance audit, granted the superintendent the authority to hire year-round of a lot of positions, but the board retained the authority to hire for pay grades AP 69 on up and principals. So at this time, we're asking you to grant the authority to the superintendent to hire principals and contractual personnel in AP 69 and above from June 15th until the next regularly scheduled board meeting in August, so that we can continue to hire principals in these positions as needed.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? Mrs. Hassan?
I move that the board grant authority to the superintendent to hire principals and contractual personnel in AP 69 and above from June 15th, 2021 until the next regularly scheduled board meeting in August as presented by administration.
Second. Ms. Cox, any discussion? Brosnick?
I won't be supporting this item. We complain every year that the legislature takes our control and our authority away. Every year we complain. We gave away our authority in December to hire teachers and coaches. And I'm not willing to abdicate my responsibility for a month. Currently, I know of at least 2 principals positions that we have open, and I guess I would like to be part of those discussions.
Thank you, Ms. Prosick. Anyone else? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-1. Ms. Prosick is dissent. Dr. Rogers.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Miller. So, as the board's aware, for the board to put any property up for sale, it has to first be declared and designated as surplus property. And so we would ask for the piece of property that we've discussed that be declared surplus, where we can advertise and potentially sell that property. It's actually 2 properties even at that site.
Okay. Do I have a motion? Ms. Cox?
I move that the board approve the resolution declaring and designating that recommended real properties as surplus property of the district, authorize their advertisement and sale, and authorize the executive staff to take any and all appropriate action in regard to the sale of the properties as presented by administration.
Thank you. Second? Christie? Ms. Hassett? Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Ms. Bay, consider and take possible action regarding proposed termination of the Chapter 21 contract of Thomas Hawkins.
Yes, thank you, President Miller. So this information was presented to you in closed session as we discussed, and I'm asking that you approve the recommendation of administration to terminate the Chapter 21 contract of Mr. Thomas Hawkins for good cause.
Thank you, Ms. Bay. Do I have a motion? Ms. Prosnick.
I move that the board approve the termination of the Chapter 21 contract of Thomas Hawkins as recommended by administration.
Ms. Hassett. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Ms. Bay, consider approval of extension of resolution regarding 2021 board committee positions.
Thank you, President Miller. So as the board will remember, you approved a resolution on May 3rd, holding over committee positions until June 30th, as we are in June. This is an extension of that resolution to the completion of the PEMS audit. You'll note the provision in the resolution that states that within 30 calendar days of the PEMS audit ending, a new committee must be formed. So I ask that the board approve that motion.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Miller, I cannot find this in board book.
I think it's in there. I looked at it earlier today. Do you have it? Do I have a motion? Ms. Hassett?
I move that the board approve the extension of the resolution regarding board committee positions.
Second? Ms. Cox, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Oh, Ms. Bay, consider approval of resolution regarding ESSER 3 funding.
Thank you, President Miller. So in your board book, you will find a resolution regarding ESSER funding. So this resolution is brought to you just in accordance with federal guidance, TEA guidance, and TASB guidance. The purpose of this resolution is to give public notice and to allow for public comment to be presented today regarding the ESSER funding.
Thank you, Ms. Bay. Do you have a motion?
I'll make that motion. I move that the board approve the resolution providing public notice of ESSER 3 funds, making available opportunities for public input as required by law, and with the approval of the required grant, award, and expenditure plans shall be made by the superintendent.
Dr. Bonner, second. That's at 10:04 p.m. Any discussion? Ms. Brosnick, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say, for the people in the community that have reached out to me that have asked why they got a survey, this is why you got a survey. And this is what is in regards to.
Thank you, Ms. Brosnick. Dr. Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. I'd just like to express my appreciation to Dr. Hart, who's leading this work. And yes, we are hard at work already trying to gather input. She's actually visiting with my parent advisory meeting in two days and other ways. So we appreciate trying to find all kinds of ways to reach out to our community.
Thank you, Dr. Hart. Well, with that presentation, I thought the only thing you did was panorama surveys. So It's good to know, and thank you for this. And for those who don't know, this means money to us, right, with ESSER funds, so this is important. If there's no discussion, do I have all in favor say aye? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Items L and M have been pulled from the agenda. As we adjourn, let me just say this. It's been a long year. We won't see you, most of you, until August. We may not even see each other until August, but we'll be in touch, and thank you for a tough year. Pass that along to your people. We look forward to next year. Thank you for all you've done to help us get this far in all functions across the district. So thank you, and thank you, Board, and we'll see you in August. And with that, if there's no further business, this meeting is adjourned at 10:06.